So, thank you for joining us after the Challenge Cup semi-final round. Because it's the semi-finals and there's only been 2 games, we've decided to tackle this episode a little bit differently.
I'm Tom. I'm Matty.
It's going to be a bit of a different format.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite.
But we are going to cover both games in quite a bit of detail. To start off, lads, how's your week been after the unfortunate result of Sunday?
Before that, I was all the way last week when I listen to you guys do a good job. The weather wasn't actually too bad in Keswick. We had a couple of days where it was rained, 2 days was glorious, but yeah, good to get up there. We're recording this, we've actually finally got some sunshine. It's been nice. I've been for a bit of a walk this morning before we were recording it, but it's been crap, hasn't it, with the weather? But no, it's been good. It's been a good week. We've just been
all I know is the weather wherever we've been can't be as bad as it was at Headingley. I don't think I've ever been that wet.
We did get wet through at Headingley. I've been wetter at Headingley though, and that was in the cup as well. Lee Smith. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was our quarter final, last 16, something like that, where Lee Smith scored a last minute try right in front of us and basically dove into the Wigan fans.
It was when
that was torrential rain for 80 minutes. That though.
Yeah, but I made the stupid decision of I can't put my hood up because when I had my hood up, Hull KR scored, so I took my hood back down.
No, I put your hood up when Hull KR scored.
That's what I mean.
I know after they scored though. After Hull KR scored, I put your hood up, but
no, I don't know. I can't talk about that. It's still too sore.
We got wet, basically, is the answer.
Yeah. So, I thought we'd start off with a bit of a question.
Okay.
Going back, long time ago, who was your first ever Wigan Warriors hero? Who was your first ever favourite player? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it.
No, I know mine already.
Got it.
You guys know yours? Alright.
I met Steve-O at a Challenge Cup final one time, Mike Stevenson, and he shook my hand and asked me who my favourite player was, probably 4 or 5 years old, and I told him it was Andy Farrell. Boring answer, because he was captain and goal kicker and best player, but he was my favourite player, so I said Farrell. They went, oh, very good player, and then a load of lads started chanting Steve-O at him, and he went over to talk to them, but that was good. Got to meet Steve-O. Definitely Andy Farrell though.
Go on, Lewis. Who was your first ever real favourite player?
Don't ask me why. A young kid, George Claremont. Took a lie. We're good for favourite player.
What a player!
He was a very good centre. But yeah, I think I was probably playing centre at the time, like when I first started getting into rugby. So I think because he played centre, I was a centre.
He'd rip up Super League now, wouldn't he?
Kind of had an affiliation for George. Yeah, I love George Claremont.
You'd be using your extra marquee spot on George Claremont if you could. He was a good player.
Now,
what about you?
I don't know why. I was thinking about it before. I was obsessed with this player for absolutely no reason. He was just my favourite. Danny Tickle.
Oh, Danny Tickle, yeah, Danny Tickle.
I don't know why he was my favourite.
He was a good pro, wasn't he? He was a good pro, Danny Tickle.
I just loved him.
He had a good career.
Yeah, he had a good career, but no, I couldn't tell you anything about his game that made me like want to be like him or whatever.
Barnstorm in back row, that was him, right?
But he was just that one who do you want to talk to, Danny Tickle? I don't know why.
I remember a game when he played at Hull FC,
yeah,
and they were obviously playing us at against United. When I first had my season ticket, I used to sit in the south stand, and there was an older guy who used to sit above us, and Wigan had scored a try. And that at our end, so the whole place stood behind the sticks for the conversion, and the older guy behind was just, and I mean straight up abusing Danny Tickle, just shouting, "Oh, you traitor! You this, you that!" and just absolutely just did not stop, and he went properly on in this whole game.
I bet he could have heard him as well.
Memories of rugby league, and he was just so late, and he was just stood with his hands on his hips, not turning round, not biting. But this old guy was having it.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
See, I don't know why. I just first one I loved. It'd be interesting actually. We'll put it out when the episode goes out later.
People's first favourite.
Yeah, I don't want a reason why. I just want to know who was that player that you loved when you first got into the game. Who was the first one you loved? Now, we said there's going to be a little bit of a change to format. In this first section, we're going to look at both semi-finals, so we're not going to have a rest of the league around the grounds look because there's only one game to look at really.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about the 1895 Cup, but only very briefly because
Yeah, we'll mention that with obviously what's
We don't
with
do
the
Mickey
NRL
Mouse
stuff.
Cups on this podcast.
You really don't like this tournament, do you?
I just said it last week, so I thought I'm just going to...
We have used it as a platform.
No, it's good.
Yeah, we won it last year, and then look at them now.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at both semi-finals in this first section, but we're actually going to start in chronological order. We're going to look at the Saints Lee final, the semi-final. Lee obviously winning 12 points to 10. A lot went on really. Joey Lussick getting a try early on to send Saints in at half time 6-0. Some absolutely brilliant defence.
Yeah, the domination St Helens had in that first half did not read on the scoreboard. 6-0. That wasn't enough really for how much ball they had and how much territory they had. Lee couldn't really get it to their own half in that first half.
No,
Well, you'd have been happy, which sounds odd because they're going in 6-0 down, but they'd have been happy and said, look, we're still in this. We've just took everything they've had to throw, we've defended it well.
Exactly.
So
I think
they'd have
after
been
the 40
happy
minutes
at
they
time.
had, Lee would have been happy with 12-0 or 14-0, to be honest.
Yeah.
Given how dominant Saints were.
they were the better side, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Oh, in that first half, there were streets ahead.
And they never really put that pressure into points. So, some brilliant defence. There was one from Charnley in the first
Brilliant
half
tackle.
That was amazing.
That knocks the
Brilliant
ball out
tackle
of.
on Wilkinson.
Makinson scores those so many times. He's just like automatic try. And
He eats them for breakfast,
Yeah.
as Toby King would say.
That's
Yeah,
true.
miscase.
Toby does, yeah.
But he's come across and absolutely nailed the ball out. Unbelievable. Um,
There was a try save. Hurrell was there? Did Hurrell get held
They held him
over
up,
the
I
line?
think.
they held him up
Yeah,
over the
they held
line,
him
yeah.
up.
Well,
Um,
they kept trying Hurrell. They kept trying to crash him over, didn't they? Hurrell was the main man in the attack, but I think they could have done with a bit more diversity.
They do. I've said it for a while. It seems a bit. Sorry, I know you might want to go through scores and try scorers here, and I'm going
No,
into
no, carry on.
analysis straight away. But they seem to do that a lot, Saints. And I've said it. I think I said it when they played us at our ground, and obviously I sit next to you, Dukes, and I said to you that it just seems like all they've got is a short side play going to Hurrell, and hoping he crashes over his opposite man and gets like the ball down. And when that doesn't work, and you manage to stop that, it doesn't seem like they've got. Except for maybe a kick in behind the line for a Percival or something like that. They don't seem to have many other options. I think they rely on that just, let's go blind, give it to Hull and hope he crashes over. I think they rely on that too
They
much.
tend to do the grubber kick towards the post as well.
for a Lomax or
As a last play option, Wellesby, Lomax all chase that through, which is, I mean, it's a good
effective.
It's a good option. Look at the Canberra Raiders; they score off it every game. I feel like, but especially when you've got somebody accurate at kicking those at those posts like Dodd. But yeah, I know what you mean. They do need to have a bit more diversity. They seem to want to crash Hurrell over. I know you said you weren't that impressed with Ritson, but like he never gets
he
the
doesn't
ball.
get a chance. I was just about
He
to
doesn't
say,
get a chance.
I was a bit critical of Rickson, and I said I'm not a massive fan of him. I do like Benison.
Well, so do I. But if you want somebody who's just going to take yardage carries and defend well,
Neither
and
of
be
them
good
are a
on-
right option.
and be good under the high ball, you should have signed Matty Russell. Because he's excellent at yardage sets and he's excellent under the high ball and he's an excellent defender. But if you want a finisher,
You have to get the ball to him.
someone who's quick, you have to get the ball to them.
And Saints don't seem to attack that side a lot.
If Ritson or Benison are your X Factor players, which they have obviously been signed to be, you look at Ritson last year, how many tries he scored just by getting early ball.
In space, if you get him in space, he's sharp.
Give him early ball.
But then there was a big thing right at the end of half time that I'll be honest with you, they give the penalty. Makinson's lining up for two, and I actually turned it off and put the open on because I assumed that
It was 8-0.
it was 8-0. The hooter had already gone. He was there, and I thought he kicks this every day of the week. Turn it over.
Very much like Wigan, you get the penalty when it's at the end of the half. You take the 2 points on offer, don't you? Especially in a cup game.
Exactly. So I assumed 8-0, whatever. Lee will be happy with that. And when I turned it back on, I wanted to see the open scores and whatever. I turned it back on to listen to the half-time commentary team. And it popped up 6-0 at the bottom, and I went, no way you missed that. And I had to go back on the recording to see that he missed it. That's crucial in games like
It was
this.
a very big moment, that, I think. Yeah, that missed penalty. It was a very big moment.
Because I don't want to skip to the end, but that would have meant his kick was to win the game,
Not to level it.
not to level it. Now, in the first half, I can't remember who I spoke to. It might have been my dad. And we kept going, Hurrell is flying out. He can't get back. He makes a big read a couple of times and he got away with it in the first half.
He's aggressive in defence.
Yeah, but
He's too
I think
Overly
in
aggressive.
He's too aggressive, yeah.
But I think that's an understanding of he hasn't got the ability to turn. He's not got the speed and the ability to turn and get back. That he has to actually be more aggressive to make sure he gets there in the first place.
Yeah.
And it only took maybe 2-3 minutes into the second half for Lachlan Lamb to basically read that Hurrell was coming out to deal with O'Brien out the back and just put Ollie Holmes through a gap.
Well, what every good half-back is doing, and what Lachlan Lamb would have been looking for, is that triangle, they call it in defence, where one man is pushed up further than the two either side of him, like the one either side of him. And that's what Hurrell does when he flies out the line like that and his teammates don't go with him. He leaves that gap in behind for your second rower to crash over, and Oliver Holmes did that.
I think the coach would have played a part in that. I think Adrian Lamb would have spotted that, and at half time he's grabbed Lachlan and all the half backs in general and just said, that edge of stage, you need to watch Hurrell goals every time. There's a gap there, you need to exploit it.
Did you not see any celebration? So
He
when he
looked at
puts
his- did he
Holmes,
point at his dad
when
or
he puts
something like that,
Holmes through, he knows it's a try before Holmes has even got over 10.
Yeah.
Because no one's stopping him there.
No one's going to
No.
stop Oliver Holmes from that distance.
And he's actually turned and jumped, and he's pointing at the crowd where his dad is. I'm assuming he was pointing at his dad as
Might have
if.
been pointing at Chris Chester.
But they're saying, as if just to say,
It's a planned move.
it's worked
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time.
And
We've
it's
got it, we've got
2
it.
minutes into the second half.
Well, that's what I mean. So I think the chance
Yeah.
they had at
Well, the other-
half time and they've got an executing.
the other question I'd be having-
play they had.
The other question I'll be having is, they didn't seem to do it again. For the rest of the game, they didn't really seem to.
Yeah, but did Hurrell temper his aggression a little bit? Or did his teammates go with him a little bit?
I think the rest of them went with him a little bit, maybe. And that obviously set
I think, like you said, I think you nailed it. I think Hull has to do that because we know as much as about storming, running over the ball and devastating in terms of his attack with the ball, in defence he can be
You can get at him.
a liability. You can get in him, and if you get round him and past him, he's not going to jog. He's not going to be able to sprint back and catch you.
I was
so I
thinking
think he
you're-
has to be aggressive, go for the play, and try and put the big hit on as soon as the bloke catches it. Because if he was passive and led it and waited, they'd be past him too much.
And I just think with that, imagine if he's got Lamb running at his inside shoulder, and he's got, I can't remember who played that centre,
Would have been
Chamberlain on the
left
outside,
field,
or Brian out the back.
with no hotel.
The moment he bites and his hips go, he's almost like a prop in that situation. That when his hips go and he bites for someone, he can't fix it. He can't fix that issue because of his size. And his size is probably his biggest strength and his biggest weakness, if you were to be honest with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably.
Now, Hardacre gets a try. What did we all think of that? Obviously, they put a kick in behind, and Ritson is coming to deal with it. Briscoe comes shoulder to shoulder, should we say?
Well, on the first view, it looked okay.
Yeah, in live, I thought that's fine. It's play on.
But no, I mean on the first view from the video ref.
All right, okay.
So on the first video ref view, it looks fine. It looks as though they're both going for the ball, and then it just pops back and Hardacre scores. And the video ref said, what did he say? Shoulder to shoulder?
He said it was
It was,
shoulder to
he said it was a
shoulder.
genuine contest for
genuine
the ball
contest.
or something like that was the phrase he used.
Now, the subsequent angles after that made it look like it wasn't a genuine contest of the ball and it was a push. But I think once the video ref has said those words, genuine contest, I don't think he wanted to then say, actually, it doesn't look like a genuine contest on this angle. And I just
Didn't
think,
want to go back on himself.
no,
But
when
again,
you,
this
and when
comes
you go so early, and when you say that after the first angle, and you don't look at all the angles first, you just put yourself either, well, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't then really, because either you're contradicting yourself, or you end up getting the decision wrong, which I think he has done in this case. I don't think this one should have been given as a try.
But then, I want to give credit to Hardacre because he plays to the whistle and
Yeah.
manages to ground the ball before the line.
And it was a decent kick.
But this is where it then comes back to. He's give try on field. He's got to prove it wrong. And if he watches the first replay and says, I can't see anything wrong with it,
Yeah, but that replay from behind the sticks made it look like it was not a try.
but if you're looking at two angles and one you think's fine and one you think isn't, you've got to go with the ref's on-field decision of a try. You have to be 100% right to prove him wrong, to overturn his decision, don't you?
Yeah. I think I I agree with Matty. I personally, I think that was a push, and I thought it should have been no
I
try.
don't think it should have been a try. I'll be
I think
honest.
there is one. The thing I saw was like kind of which angle it was from, but you see where they are kind of shoulder to shoulder. But then you see, and obviously, let's just do a podcast, can't see what I'm doing here, but you see his like forearm come up in a shoving motion, and then the guy goes flying. And
I'm not disagreeing with that.
So I do think he has shoved him off the ball.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
But I know what you mean.
What I
yeah,
mean
when
is-
he's given it as a try on field.
He's give it as a try, which means the ref and the near side touch judge don't think there's anything wrong with it. They just want to check. He's watched the first replay and said there's nothing wrong with it. Now, I don't think you should be able to hear the video ref because he's got to have a decision process. And if he's worried about what people are hearing, that affects his
He
decision.
should just have said nothing. He should have said, okay, next angle, please. That's what he should have said. All he should say is next angle, please, and then decide after all that and say after all that.
I exactly agree.
Because that's what they usually do.
Yeah.
They usually say, oh, let me just see from this angle. Let me just see from this angle.
Do you have any other angles?
Yeah, they always say that before they say, okay, so he's got the ball down, whatever, you know.
And that's actually what he did with the hurled nose try where they held him up. In terms of, can't tell from this angle, have you got any more? I can't see it from this angle. He asked for a third. The third one was inconclusive as well, and he said he had to stick with the on-field decision.
Yeah.
I think he went early with that, I agree.
Yeah.
But I just don't know why. What's the benefit of hearing what the video ref's saying? I don't know the benefit of it.
I think it explains the rationale behind the decision, but
But people still disagree with him.
I would only say it once you've seen all the angles.
Yeah, I do like hearing the video referee. And obviously the thing is people don't when they're watching it live at the stadium.
Yeah.
Obviously it's only if you're on TV.
Yeah.
I like hearing the explanation because then at least like he said, didn't he, used the word genuine contest for the ball. No, you're right. I do disagree with him. I didn't think it was a genuine contest. I thought it was unfair. I thought it was shoved. But at least I can kind of think, but I understand why he's given the try. I think he's wrong. I think he's made the wrong call. But if he thinks that is a genuine contest, then I can see why he's gone with the decision of a try.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's
Now-
yeah, I thought he got it wrong personally.
Now-
but it is what it is.
We've got a bit of an issue here because something did happen that was quite big. There was the Metatia sin binning. I'm going to suggest, and obviously the tackles from John Asiata that have caused a lot of controversy.
Let's talk the sin bin first.
Yeah, let's go
I was going to say, let's talk about the sin bin.
Because the Asiata
But-
stuff is kind of like post-match
Yeah,
with the review panel, because obviously it wasn't picked up in real time, which is understandable.
but we're also going to end up doing a comparison to the Joe Shorrocks incident.
Oh, yeah.
So we will briefly mention it now, but we are going to come back onto it after we've talked about the Wigan game.
Okay.
Okay?
I think the Matautia sin bin was similar, but not as bad as John Bateman's red card in the playoff semi-final last year against Leeds, where he hit Caesar after a kick in the head. Only Bateman's was kind of with his elbow, and Matautia's was more like a tackle, and it wasn't quite as high. So
But
Bateman's red card was fully deserved on that day.
what 100%.
And so Matautia's probably deserved the yellow card.
But this is where the comparison to the Joe Shorrocks incident comes in. Whether you agree, and I'll spoil it now, I don't think Joe Shorrocks should have been sent off. I don't even think it was a yellow, if I'm being completely honest. But he said it was direct contact with the head.
Made
And
by the shoulder in a genuine attempt to
Yeah.
tackle.
And if that's what he said, for the reasoning to send Joe Shorrocks off, Matautia should be sent off as well.
Matautia's was exactly the same. It was
Direct contact to the head.
slightly high contact with shoulder, but it was also late.
It was late on a kicker.
It
as
was
well,
late on a
which
kicker.
Some would argue that could even be considered worse than a Joe Shorrocks one.
Not
'cause
on
it's
a
late on a kicker.
Not on a falling.
And both Shorrocks
Well,
and Matauti are both wrapping their arms around. They're both not shoulder charges.
No, they weren't shoulder charges. No,
Cool.
and they weren't swinging arms like Bateman's was last year.
My thing with this is I don't think, and I think I'd even put maybe referees into this point as well. And again, prove me wrong if you can or whatever, but I actually don't think, and I know we were talking about this last night, Tom, but what punishment is direct contact to the head? Is it a penalty? Is it a yellow? Is it a red card offence? And if it can be all three, depending on certain factors which might be mitigation, as Liam Moore said to Kenny Dowell on the Miskey tackle, which we'll get onto again in the next game, it's mitigation. Well, we need some clarity and explanation around, well, what are those? When is direct contact to the head just a penalty? When is it a yellow card offence? And then what upgrades that, or what changes then make it a red card offence?
The thing
We've
that
had
makes,
two incidents of direct
know.
contact to the head with two different punishments, and that's what I can't get my head around and understand.
We had this argument yesterday, and we're going to end up having the same argument again today. I hate the phrase, we just want consistency. I really do have a hatred of that phrase. Because what is consistency? Is consistency every touch to the head is a yellow card, like we had at the start of last year, and everyone complained about it, saying, well, that shouldn't be a red. That shouldn't be a yellow, sorry, that shouldn't be a yellow. Okay, where we were getting one at least a game with a yellow card. Or, I want the ref to judge the situation. He will get it right. He will get it wrong, sorry, in times. But there is no situation that is ever exactly the same. Consistency suggests you want the same outcome no matter what. And if the league is going to say, if you touch the head, it's a red card, I'm okay with that. You just can't go and complain about it later on because everyone's been begging for consistency. Consistency to me says you have to look at all the different circumstances. Was he late? Has he come face to face with him, or has he blindsided him and come from 3 men in? Is his fist clenched? Because if your fist is clenched, you're making him more aggressive.
But this is it. I don't want consistency with these two incidents. I want an explanation of why they're different. I'm happy. I don't think I want an explanation why was one red and why is one. And if someone can say, well, these are the factors why it's a different punishment, and I can, a bit like I was saying with that video decision, and if I can say, right, well, no, I can see why you've gone red card, and well, no, I can see why you've gone yellow with that. I'm fine with there being two different outcomes if you explain to me why the outcomes are different.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
there are different factors in every hit to the head.
Every
always, shoulder contact to the head, isn't there? They always talk about players losing height.
Is it reckless? Are they falling?
I always
fist
look,
clenched?
mate,
Mikey Lewis lost height twice. The first time was when he was ducking down and Shorrocks hit him. And the second time was when French tackled him, so he lost height there. That's why Miski wasn't sent off.
He said to, because it was Kenny Doyle who went and I think asked the question, and the phrase Liam Moore used, he said he was falling, which is mitigation.
But
so it doesn't carry the same punishment, it's mitigation because the player, to be fair, Kenny Doyle at that point went, okay, thank you.
Which is a new thing, I think, because he's falling due to a tackle by another
Which
player.
is like Tom just said there, that's common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense.
The referee assessed that situation, well, he's losing height, so that's different to that one, so it's not the same punishment.
The one at Magic Weekend last year on Singleton, where Singleton was red carded, this year would no longer be a red card.
Yeah, because he was falling.
Because he was losing height due to another man tackling him. When Singleton lines up the tackle and he puts his head down to tackle him, it's at the height of the ball, chest height. But by the time the actual player makes his way to Singleton, he'd lost so much height that he hit him in the back of the head. So that's why they changed the rule, which is a better rule now. It means that if someone tackles you and you're losing height, then the other defenders aren't really getting a red card. Whereas Lewis, the first time, he just slipped, didn't he?
I always look and first of all, you can't decide it in slow-mo. The only thing you can decide in slow-mo is where the first contact is, right? And with the Shorrocks one, it's not direct to the head. It's not. He hits the chest / ball
It bounces
and
off the ball.
goes into the neck.
Bounces off the ball into the neck. I don't think at any point he hits him in the head.
So, Liam Moore saying, and the ref saying, it was direct to the head. As much as I'm annoyed about it, he's got it wrong. And I can live with him getting it wrong. He thought he's hitting direct to the head, he hasn't. And that's been shown in the bans, the fact that Shorrocks only got one.
I think it is because he gets up and he holds his head, first of all, the player, which we'll get onto in a bit. Obviously, his head was fine because he jumped up and...
Didn't need a HIA.
No, he didn't need one because he just jumped up and played on as soon as time was stopped. But once time was stopped, it gives him a chance to play it on the screen.
Well,
and Liam Moore stands 30, 40 feet away from the screen looking at it. And everybody else in the stadium who can see the screen is a Hull KR fan. The Wigan fans cannot see the screen. So they all see it and they go, ooh, boo, send him off. And all of a sudden that pressure builds on the referee to send him off.
Matty Pete has come out and said he thinks that the crowd played a big part in the decision.
They did. They did.
And I will be honest, they deserve the right to, because they took 8,000-9,000 and we took 2.
No, we took more than that, but we took certainly more than 3,000. But we were in the open-ended stand, designed to kill any atmosphere because it's the away end, rightly so. And the Hull KR fans were in the new south stand and the north stand and the east stand, which are all designed to amplify atmosphere. So you're not, and they weren't awful. So you're not telling me that that's a fair allocation of stands, because that allocation was made before the ticket sales were even decided. So that's not fair. It's not very neutral at all. And it definitely had an impact. Matty Pete's right. It definitely had an impact on the game.
Going back onto the decisions, I just think you have to look at what came out with it. I always look at 2 or 3 key things. Is the guy who's made the incident, so Matautia and Joe Shorrocks in this case, have they shot out the line? Because usually, if you're going to go on to try and put a big shot on and get stuck into someone and hurt someone or whatever, you're coming at pace in front of everybody else.
Or you're hitting a kicker.
Or you're hitting a kicker. Well, you're putting pressure on by yourself and you've got to get it right. But you know what you're doing because you're putting pressure on the kicker. As he come, is his arm swinging? No.
Neither of them were.
Neither of them were. That doesn't scream dangerous. That's not reckless.
They were just normal high tackles, but one of them was late and one of them wasn't.
Yeah. And that's why I still believe the Metaltia one is worse. Because I think he's late.
And he makes direct contact.
And he makes direct contact to the head. Where Shorrocks doesn't. But I can live with that being a mistake. Because the ref thinks he has.
Yeah.
It looked like he had. It did look like he had.
At full speed.
At full speed.
That's the bit that really frustrates me. Liam Moore calls him over and says it's direct contact to the head, which is a red card. And I'm sat there at the TV shouting, saying, but it's not, because that happened yesterday with Matoti and he didn't get a red card. So explain, that's all I want, the explanation.
That's my frustration.
I think that's everybody's frustration, yeah. There's no clarity
even though he's wrong in what he said.
They said the same sentence to both of them, but gave them different colours.
If Matoti would have got a red card, and then he says to Shorrocks, it's direct contact with the head, there's a red card, I can say, well, that's the wrong decision, but I can see why he sent him off, because he thinks he's hit him in the head. But I can't understand, that's the bit that I don't like. It's direct contact with the head, it's a red card. Well, no, it's not, because it happened yesterday, and he didn't get a red card, he got a yellow. So I don't understand that. And that's where I think that explanation of the different, is it a penalty, is it a yellow, is it a red, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a swinging arm, are you looking for defining it as reckless?
I would love to speak to a referee or the referee board and say, what are you looking for?
Well, Ian Smith came out and said they were both red cards, and Richard Silva came out and said they were both yellows. So, there you go.
But, let's get back onto the game.
Yeah.
So then,
St Helens scored, didn't they?
St Helens scored.
This is when I turned it on, because I was at a wedding and basically they were doing pictures and my bit was done, so I just snuck it out of my pocket. There was 3 minutes left and I stuck it out of my pocket because I wanted to see who was going to the final, you know. And as soon as I turned it on, St Helens scored, but it was the last kick of the game, really. Well, there's still about 30 seconds left, but they had a chance. Lomax try, which was a nice try, I've got to say.
Yeah, did very, very well.
A good move, but it looked like tired defence.
He played very well in this game, for defending like an absolute trooper, to be fair.
He's really good. I want to talk about Lomax as well in a minute. But
he deserved it.
But then, obviously, he misses the kick, doesn't he, making Sinanat? I actually thought he was going to kick it, because he is usually good in those pressure situations. I remember being at the Emirates when he kicked the goal that sent England into extra time against Samoa. And being
he
there,
does seem like a big moment
player, big match kicker, yeah. But obviously he missed this one. I mean, he's been out for a while, hasn't he? So that could have played a part.
But this is where we come to. The penalty miss just at half time
was a slightly easier kick.
Yeah, was an easier kick under less pressure. That's the one he should kick for me.
Yeah,
definitely. And then he's got a kick to win it. It takes the pressure off him because you know you can go to extra time either way.
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean.
But
the thing I wanted to say about Lomax, sorry, Tom, before you make your point, is I watched the game back on the Sunday morning before we went to Leeds on the iPlayer, and I watched all the pre-match coverage as well, which was excellent. And they showed inside the dressing rooms just before they came out And St Helens were in a huddle, all the players. A very usual thing, but I was interested. I watched it very closely because I knew that Roby wasn't playing.
Yes.
So I was interested to see who was doing the talking, and it was McCarthy Scarisbrook.
Yeah.
At first, he was doing the talking, and they were all listening. And as soon as he finished talking, he went, but the rest of the players stayed in the huddle, and Wellesby talked for a bit, and then Lomax talked for a bit. Was Lomax captain this game? I think he probably was.
I think he would be captain.
But these other two talked, and then McCarthy Scarisbrook comes wandering back into shot, looking all confused.
Yeah, the only thing is whether he's gone to have a little bit of medical treatment done before the game. You never know.
You've got to stand there and listen to your captain. If you're going to bark out the instructions, then you've got to listen when somebody else does the same. I just thought that was interesting.
He's quite vocal. I think he's a leader in that St Helens.
He's the experience.
He's vocal, I think. I don't know. Like Roby, I think, leads by actions, doesn't he? But I couldn't imagine Roby in a huddle kind of getting them all pumped up for
He's
the
not
game.
a massive
Just,
speaker.
No, I think he just leads by what he does. Whereas I think because Lomax for them, I think I've seen like on Sky Sports when they've gone into it, he's the one who's talking. They're all around him, and he's in the middle dishing out the orders type thing. But I thought, especially in defence, he had a fantastic game, Lomax. So he probably deserved that try at the end.
While we're talking about Lomax and we're talking about defence, Zach Hardacre coming up with one of the tackles of the season.
Yes.
Lomax backing up on the inside like he's done his entire career.
Yeah.
When the play breaks down, when the play happens, I went Lomax on the inside try time, and Hardacre comes off the right centre position, almost past the post, to make a one-on-one tackle with Lomax from like almost. If you were to think of a clock, he's 8 o'clock, slightly behind him, slightly from the side.
This was just all heart desire, wasn't it? To get. It was almost chasing a lost cause because I thought it was a try as well.
I think this exemplified Lee's defence for that entire afternoon. It was just desperate. I think that's the only word you can say.
Yeah.
The Chernley, I felt he did 2 on Makinson. The first half, the second one, they've held up Horrell, Hardacre with no right to make that tackle. Everyone thinks it's a try. He comes from out of nowhere to make the tackle.
And that's
it just
why,
summed up Lee's desperate defence.
That's why they deserved the rub of the green.
I think so.
On that Herdicka try, they'd earned, and we'll talk a bit more later about why Hull KR perhaps earned the rub of the green as well. But they earned the rub of the green by playing so hard and fighting so much desperately.
They defended. I've questioned them in the past and said, I need to see how the defence holds up under barrels and barrels of pressure.
Passed that test.
They passed that test.
Passed that
the
test.
The defence won them this game.
Exactly.
I know anyone who says,
well, they scored 12 points.
It wasn't the video, it was the defence won the game for me.
That's the first game where I went, the defence has won them this game.
Because usually when they win, they score 30 points.
Yeah, they outscore teams.
Exactly.
But we're talking about defence. There's probably a couple of things that we need to talk about based off the match review panel.
There's going to be a lot of talking about referees' decisions, tackles in this podcast.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. In terms of like red cards and yellow cards and bans, is it not the video ref and the match review panel? Like it's taken completely out of Kendall and Moore's hands, really.
Effectively, yeah.
The decision to send Shorrocks off was not Liam Moore's, I don't think. The decision to send Matautia for a yellow card wasn't Chris Kendall's. The decision to give Hardacre's try, although he gave try on the field, wasn't Chris Kendall's. And the decision to ban or not ban anybody was no referee in particular. It was the match review panel. So I actually think people are arguing and calling referees, and okay, they've made some mistakes. They always do, but actually, I think it's the video refs and the match review panel who we always say have to get things right because they get
a million and one.
That have got things wrong this week.
Now, I actually want to defend the match review panel here because with the Asiata tackles, and we're going to talk about the Parsi and the Walmsley challenge. What rule has he actually broke? What has he done that's illegal? Because by the letter of the law, I can't see anything illegal with them. He's not the third man in attacking a joint. He's reckless.
They're definitely reckless.
Yeah.
But I actually differ to most people on this. I think the Walmsley tackle is worse than the Parsi one.
He's reckless about the outcome on both tackles.
Because for the Parsi one, I can almost get what he's trying to do. He's on the inside, Parzy's got a short ball. He's got to run over. He's just got to throw himself and try and chop his legs. And he hits the lower leg, but it's his knee that hits Parzy's. It's Asiata's head that hit Parzy's knee and causes the injury. But I can get what he's trying to do. He's just trying to throw him. He's trying to throw himself in front of him to chop him down.
So you think that was a genuine... Well, that's what the match review panel said, a genuine attempt to tackle.
My issue
if slightly reckless in nature, it's a genuine attempt to tackle.
My issue with the Walmsley one is that he gets low as if he's going to let Walmsley run over the top of him and just wrap his legs and fall backwards.
Like a halfback would.
Yeah, but he actually dives into Walmsley. And I think that's... Even though the outcome is less than the Parzy injury, I think that's more dangerous because he accelerates into it. The Parzy one, in another 99 times out of 100, Parzy walks off with a sore knee and Asiata's unconscious.
It's bad tackle technique from his
It's a bad tackle technique from him. He's got his head in the wrong place. And how often do you see knee on head leading in a blow being unconscious or concussed or whatever?
The thing is, we're diving at the knees. The bit, and this I'm going to probably open up a can of worms here. The thing I'm hearing about quite a lot, and this normally comes like with tip tackling, is the phrase "you have a duty of care towards your opponent." And they say if you pick them up in the air with tip tackling, you have a duty of care to put them down safely. You can't just drop them on the head, and obviously if you do, that's why you get banged, 'cause it's dangerous. Now, obviously, the duty of care towards your opponent in a game of rugby league where it's physical, you want to be aggressive, you're trying to hurt people intentionally.
You're trying to dominate them physically.
That opens up a can of worms in itself. But there's also the point to make where if someone is running back a ball and it's aggressively, you're trying to make a tackle, but are you considering your duty of care towards that player if you are just diving in at the knees or the shins?
But you're not considering your duty of care to yourself either.
Yourself or the player. If all it takes is the boot knee to get stuck in the ground on a wet day like it was, you're going to have snapped knees, snapped legs. There's two big injuries now for this.
If a bloke's flying at you, and you're bracing yourself to put him on his back, there's no duty of care there. You're not telling me at any tackle, at any point, the defender goes, "Oh, I've got a duty of care here, so I better twist him."
That's where it's
You've got a duty of care not to club him in the head or trip him up or dump him on his head like Will Bryce did.
That's what I mean.
And if you do tip tackle someone... you're not going to pile drive them into the ground. That's very rare that happens. What usually happens, that's massive, like 10 game bans. What usually happens is they drop them and it's a 1 game ban. That's not as bad, obviously, but you have got a duty of care to not injure your opponent once you've already done that.
What I'm trying to say about the duty of care point is that's always been there. 100 years ago, there was a duty of care. It was just unwritten. It was unmentioned. You're not trying to deliberately hurt someone.
No.
And I don't think John Asiata is trying to deliberately hurt anyone. The Parzy one, I think he's just thrown everything at him, trying to stop him, to get his team to a semi-final.
These tackles have been outlawed in the NFL. Obviously, they wear helmets, so that's going to be even worse on your knee. But only when there's already another man tackling them.
Yeah, which there wasn't in both these cases.
This is it. It's a bit like that's where if two men have held up a player and Asiata would do that, everyone would call for it's a cannonball, it's a big game ban. This one is not. He's running back, and like you're saying there, Tom, I do agree with you. There's no, as far as I'm aware, I'm with you. There's no rule against it saying you can't.
I just
it's
don't like the
attempted leg tackle.
I don't think he's set out to injure anybody.
I just don't like the
it is dangerous.
But it's very reckless,
it's very reckless, very dangerous, and it can and it has ended two players' seasons.
I dislike the Walmsley one more because I don't know it for a fact, but it looks like on the video he speeds up, he accelerates into a contact as if he's throwing himself at his shins.
Yeah,
which concern me. What I'm going to say is we've then had the incident with Wellens coming out and talking about these incidences.
Wellens isn't happy, is he?
He's not happy.
And I understand his points quite clear.
My issue with this whole thing now is you better be whiter than white.
Well, they've not been
Morgan Knowles ended Mike Cooper's career
with a hip drop tackle.
So are we saying, because I don't think that hip drop was intentional, so are we saying that Mike Cooper's hip drop, which got 2 weeks 2 or 3 weeks for an unintentional
I think he
hip
got
drop,
3.
which injured someone quite badly. Are we saying that this sort of reckless diving in at the knees should be treated the same way?
Well-
Perhaps it's not meant to end somebody's career, or it's not meant to injure somebody, but it's reckless, and so it should be deemed as a small ban. What do we think?
I think Asiata should be banned.
Yeah, a small ban. Well, I know he
But-
did it twice, so
But what are you can't actually ban him for something because
he's
he's
not
not
broken a
broken.
no,
a
I
rule.
know. But what I'm saying is, do you think this
So I think Super League should bring in a rule.
that's like the hip drop rule,
Yeah.
where you've not done it on purpose. It's not like a crusher tackle or
Yeah.
a cannonball or a chicken wing. These aren't things you've done. These things you do on purpose.
Yeah.
The hip drop, we mentioned it when
When
way
there was a
back
big-
when it was a big focus. Like, we don't think they do it on purpose. It's just
It's just trying to stop someone.
Trying to stop
Surely
someone.
it can go into the cannonball rule and just say a cannonball can be either if a player is being held up or
Yeah.
a one-on-one a cannonball tackle. You can't just go and dive in at someone's knees or shins, lower half of the leg or whatever you want to call it.
Now, I actually showed you both this video earlier on. After the comments from Wellens, the first thing that anyone was going to do was go and look at every Saints tackle ever. Because that's what people do.
Yeah. Well, he mentioned after
Parsi.
the Mike Cooper ban, Mike Cooper injury and the Morgan Knowles ban, Wellens particularly was
Well, I've
unhappy
got
that
the quote here.
they'd gone
Actually.
and looked at the medical before.
Well, it's the thing is though with Wellens, like you said, then you better be whiter than white. No, if we use Knowles as the example, not just trying to pick on one, but he had the hip drop tackle. Then he went and took off the halfback's head at Halifax when he come back from a ban and got another red card for a tackle that just didn't. That again was reckless and did not need to happen.
And
he's just
everybody's
took his head
eyes are
off.
going to be on Mike Cooper after the chicken wing in the semi-final.
And then it was
Knowles on the chicken wing.
No, then,
Knowles,
then,
yeah,
there was
sorry.
then he's done for a chicken. So if you're going to call out other people's tackle techniques,
You better be
when
perfect.
you've got a player there who's been done for a chicken wing, a hip drop, and this season,
And you appealed.
those 3 examples I can just think off the top of my head. There's probably more. Took off someone's head.
And
in
you
a Challenge
appealed the
Cup.
chicken wing on a technicality
Yeah.
so he could play the grand final.
But they also said, well, you go and talk about what he said after Mike Cooper got his season ended.
So
by
this was
Knowles.
the quoted by Wellens. He said, "We got a phone call from the match review panel on Monday that Morgan Knowles had been charged with a grade D. What I would say in this situation is no coach or player wants players to suffer injuries, but injuries are part and parcel of the sport. Ours is a collision sport and things can go wrong. I know Morgan Knowles as a person and how tough he plays the game and how honest he is. He doesn't go out on the field to injure players. First of all, no one goes on the field to injure players.
No,
Because
he's right there.
if you did, I'm almost certain the players would get it back on you. That's for one. But there's no sympathy there about Mike Cooper being out for the season.
No, and nobody's saying, oh, he should get a long ban because Mike Cooper's out for the
Yeah.
season. And if saying because Mike Cooper got injured, that's the only reason Knowles got suspended. Well, you can't have it both ways, can you? You can't then cry about Asiata, can you?
Yeah, and Walmsley being out for the season, and that should affect the ban.
Well, think about what Parsi done himself.
Yeah.
Parsi,
ended Taylor May's season in the
February.
first game of the season.
he ended it in February
If you've not seen it,
with a nasty hip drop.
If you've not seen it yet, I will retweet it in a minute. No, it wasn't a hit drop. It's more of a cannonball. Third man.
He's in at the third.
He's
man.
a third man, isn't he?
And he goes at the knee.
He's a third.
That's a
man.
hip drop. Not a hip drop, sorry. That's
Cannonball.
Well, it was
a
a bit
cannonball.
Of, it was. I think it looked a bit like a hip drop to me as well. So it might have been a bit of both, but he certainly rolled up at the joints, his knee joint.
And he ended his season. And no
In
one
February.
mentioned. In February. And
And
no
this is
one
a
mentioned.
bright young player coming off the back of a successful
Yeah.
World Cup. I mean,
And no one mentioned. No one batted an eyelid that his tackle technique was wrong.
it was reckless. And now all of a sudden we're talking about getting salary cap dispensation because
They've had two players.
they've had 2 players injured. Yeah, well,
Well, you can't turn and say injuries are part and parcel
Exactly.
of the game, but then call for salary cap dispensation when
it's
two
what,
of your
it's
props
what the
get
rest of us
injured.
have
It's
had
like-
forever. Everyone has this.
I know I won't say, I'll give you credit, Tom, because you were the person who said this, but when we had Cooper out, Havard out, who else was it, Ellis out, or whatever, with all injuries, no one kind of came to our defence.
nobody ever
No one
would.
ever
And
showed
when we
us.
got
It was just,
one-
oh, well, you're injured, there's a purpose,
Nobody
this is
ever
why
would.
you need squad depth, this is why you need squad depth.
And when we got one to then lose Singleton for 6 weeks,
Yeah.
and then Havard injured again.
And then Ellis out again.
So, yeah, we've all struggled with injuries, especially Wigan.
They are
and
Especially in the
so-
props this year. A lot of
Yeah.
props injured this year across all the teams. I don't know if there's something different happening, but it
It's
seems
just
like
the
Maybe
way that
more
the game
collisions
goes.
in the middle of the field.
a lot of
throwing
props.
more
Well, I guess
wrestles
I
and things
guess
are
always
probably going to get
you lose always you always lose props.
pick up injuries.
I just don't think. First of all, if I was the owner of St Helens, would I be happy with Wellens coming out making them comments? Probably not.
And if I was anybody within the RFL, I wouldn't be, because they kind of put a target on Asiata's back. The fans are having a go at him now. Somebody said he's been sent death threats today. The players are certainly going to try and even the score next time.
If Leah Clever, I just won't play.
Yeah.
I
saw
decide
a
to rest
few
him.
people saying like the Lee home game is going to be a red cardathon because everyone's going to try and take revenge on Asiata.
But once again, I think if that does happen and the players go out, well, that to me is just because again, I don't. Yeah, it is embarrassing
Wellens would
because
be at fault for that. I don't think the players will do that for any second.
because he's not. Again, I don't think. And what we've just said there, nothing was intentional.
No,
He's not gone out there to end seasons.
surely the players.
His tackle technique
I'll
was
just
reckless,
repeat-
but was within the rules of the game.
I'll just repeat the quote. What I would say in this situation is no coach or player wants players to suffer injuries, but injuries are part and parcel of the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone tries to take their own thing on Asiata, there's an issue there.
Well, no, the players won't. The players won't do that.
Like I said, I do think this probably needs to be looked at now. A kind of one-on-one cannonball tackle rule probably needs to come in because they are dangerous. They have had the consequence of ending two people's seasons, two players' seasons, and they weren't nice to look at. He did the first one, and I went, "Oh, that's dangerous." Then he did it the second time, and Percy got taken off. Wales managed to play on for a little bit before I think being taken off, and I was like, they didn't look good. But like you said before, Tom, there's no particular rule at the moment against them.
And I do think there should be.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The RFL,
I think there needs to be a tweak to the cannonball where you can have a one-on-one cannonball.
It was
tackle.
weird. When the hip drop first came in place in the NRL, it happened once, and then they brought a rule in and said, listen, we've never seen this before.
We're going to sin bin everybody who does it.
If you do it, it's a sin binning. We can't ban, and I can't remember who the first person was that did it. It might have been Patrick Carrigan.
I believe Kerrigan might have been the first one
Banned.
done by
I can't remember who did the
Hastings
first
was it,
one.
that one?
Yeah, I can't remember who did the first one. But they just said, we can't ban him because he's done nothing wrong by the rules, but we're all admitting that shouldn't happen. He's feeling bad about it anyway.
because it wasn't intentional.
Wasn't intentional. If this happens from now on, it's 10 minutes in the bin.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. I think we should take a little bit of a break because
Oh,
that's been long.
We should give some credit to Lee.
We should.
Yeah.
We should.
They deserve to make the final, and they deserve to perhaps lift some silverware based on the last few months they've had. We've been waiting for them to run out of steam. They haven't done. They've been fantastic.
It's going to be really interesting to see how they manage the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, but I imagine they'll be one of those teams that we've seen in the past where they've done quite well. They've won the cup, and then like that's them done.
They've overperformed already, you could argue.
Oh, but they've
they've-
massively overperformed.
No one was expecting this. To get to the final of the Challenge Cup, if they go on to win it, they could lose all the remainder of the league games, and I think the league fans would still be happy. And with what they've done.
Well, they're going to have a better season than at least 10 teams, 9, 10 teams.
Yeah.
I think you can safely say 8.
Yeah.
So. No, and they won that game off the back of. I'm going to make that point again. For me, that game was won on the back of the desperate, never say die defence.
Which is good, because
which wins your semi-final.
Yeah, it's good because
Winning
it
semi-final.
means they can win big games, and it's a different way for them to win.
Mm.
Yeah, very good. Well done to Lee. I think I'll be backing them in the final.
Yeah,
I think I want them to do it. I think they deserve it.
yeah, that's a fair point.
So do I. I think they've probably been the... Yeah. Right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and review the Wigan game. That went on longer than what we were expecting.
So we will do a break.
Yeah.
All right.
I know I said we weren't. but we will.
that's fine. It's fine.
Right. We'll be back in very shortly. So, thank you for that quick break.
Gee, thank you. We thank the people. They've not had a break. It's gone straight on for them. They've heard 3 bars of music and we're back. We've had the break, not them.
Okay, right, let's do it again. And we're back. So, Hull KR ended up winning 11 points to 10 after extra time. There's quite a few points to talk about, but let's do it in chronological order. Obviously, Wigan kicked off and we actually seemed to dominate possession really for the first 8 or 9 minutes and the areas that the game was being played in.
We dominated all the way up until J Field knocked on.
Jab shots.
J Field knocked on trying to get a quick play of the ball.
Just to point out, someone commented that I call him Jai Fields,
I know.
and now I'm stuck between a moral question of sticking with it or not.
Because you've known it's J Field for months. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
With the folks at home, you've known it's J Field for
Yeah.
months. Probably 18 months actually. But you just like winding people up.
So, but yeah, we dominated that first 8 or 9 minutes, and then Jay
He went for a quick play of the ball,
play of the ball, knocks on, and we give possession away.
and it's a scrum on the 10-metre line in the middle of the pitch.
And you said to me, I'll be amazed if we get through this first tackle.
If you can execute a simple block play from a scrum 10 metres out in the centre, it's a guaranteed try. Because it's impossible to defend against, because you get the extra man overlap from the man
Who fed
who
the ball.
feeds to scrum, yeah. So it's really a bit of a cheat code. I mean, just don't drop the ball.
Yeah, don't make a mistake.
Just don't make a mistake on tackles 1 to 5 and you're fine. But yeah,
Gotta give credit to OKR first time doing
They executed-
and they execute
they
and get
executed
points.
very
so
simple
you've
block
gotta you gotta give them some
And they
credit
execute
for
in the
that.
corner. Senior scores. They missed the conversion to go 4-0. And then we get back into that arm wrestle. And it was a little bit more, no real dominance of field possession.
It was really cagey, wasn't it? They were
For the
just
next 10
nobody wanted to make a mistake.
And it actually took a little bit of brilliance from Wigan with a play. You could see the fear of French's step, because he'd stepped a couple of times earlier on. And they just sit off him a little bit. They get the ball out to field, who goes through the gap. And once he makes that initial break through a gap, you're not stopping him. He's too quick.
No.
Oh, is that you declaring?
I just declared then. 5 minutes, lads.
And Field scores in the corner, and Harry Smith, as confident as you like, kicks it over to give us the lead of 6-4.
You're right in the corner.
It was that try was nice. It was a nice little play. So they went out the back to field, and it looked like he looped round, but he just held his run a little bit deeper. Just gave himself a bit more space. Had the ball for a bit longer in his arms, saying what was going on. I'm going to pass. I think it's Rowan Mills who stands off him and gives him that little bit of space. And
It's
Field, as
Mills
soon as he
who's
sees that, he just goes, right, no, I'm not passing. And we've talked about it before. His speed, but it's his acceleration to get from 0 to top speed in such a short space of time. He's through a gap and he's over, and
I'll be honest, I've been a little bit critical of Jay. That I think he's been a little bit too flat, and he's getting the ball at the line, and that doesn't give him the chance to accelerate. He actually in this situation was a little bit deeper,
held back a bit.
and waits, and then goes, and it's too late.
And we did try this again, and it nearly worked when we had 12 men. So that shows how good it is.
How
as a
dangerous
move.
it is.
You can't do. I mean, you can't do it 15 times a game.
But it's dangerous.
But it's dangerous when you do pull out. Yeah. Nice
we
move,
then,
that.
just before half time, get a penalty for a 1-on-1 ball steal, a 2-on-1 ball
For the
steal.
most obvious ball steal.
You will ever see.
We've been watching the highlights just again before we started recording this podcast, and as soon as it's given us a penalty, the Hull KR fans erupt into enormous boos. They were facing the screen. I don't know how they're doing. It's the most obvious strip you have ever seen in your life.
He had both his arms around the ball and just tore it out. Yeah, obvious strip.
Which, it was a stupid decision for me. Because there was only a minute left. Wigan kicked the goal.
I think it was frightening, the Pierce Paul's offloading skills.
But that takes the game to 8-4 at half time.
Yeah.
Wigan will be the happier of the two teams going in there.
They extended it to 10.
Well, before they extend it to 10, Wigan go down to 12 men.
Yeah, we talked about this.
We've talked about
We
it.
talked about Joe Shorrock's red card.
And I actually said to you, Matty, coming off the game, that I thought he was going to get a lot of stick. And he's got some.
No, I've not got very much though.
Oh.
Most people have not.
Oh. Sorry, let's just interrupt that. I've just been shown a picture.
Talk about Joe Shorrock's here.
I'm sorry, but Tyler Dupree down at the arena with the first team training.
Okay, so it's not rumour and conjecture anymore. Then we can actually talk about it.
Breaking news
Can I,
on the Wigan Way podcast.
Wait, can I redo that? Breaking news.
Nice.
We're now in the breaking news segment.
Tyler Dupree has been spotted entering the Robin Park Arena.
Talking to
Coaching mastermind Sean Wayne and the rest of the Warriors squad, looking like he's kitted out in the Warriors gear
he is.
already.
He is.
Massive news.
Been through the club shop on his way.
That when we took a break, I was going to say I can't wait for the day that something breaks live on the podcast.
Well, we've told everyone what time we record now. But yeah, good news. Back to Shorrocks.
Yeah, back to the Shorrocks.
People blamed him a lot after the Wakefield defeat. I get that.
And I get it, but at the same time, I don't think that's fair. He's give one penalty away.
He didn't.
It didn't include the other 24 points. He's not conceded 24 points and give a penalty away.
Well, he didn't get much blame for this, actually.
But
I've not seen him.
I walked up. I've seen a little bit where people have criticised Shorrocks and said he's cost us 2 games. I can't understand how you can say he cost us two games because he didn't concede 26 points by himself against Wakefield. That was the team not being good enough. And this incident, I've seen people say he's cost us 2 games and then in the same sentence say, but he shouldn't have been sent off. Well, if he shouldn't have been sent off, you can't blame him for being sent off. Both of them 2 points don't work together.
Yeah, they're not comparable. You've got to remember with Joe Shorrocks, we were on about this the other day, he's done an absolute fantastic job. He's played in multiple positions
he played
through
centre
his
last
career,
year.
Really. Started as like a sub-9, didn't he? I think Adrian Lamb
He did
was
a bit
using
at
him
9.
as.
He's played in the props this year. He's played in the second row. He's played 13. He played centre last year for a couple of games.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
It didn't go well, but he's your
He's doing
ultimate
a job
utility
as
man.
a utility player, isn't he? And let's not forget the job he did at 6 when St Helens
In the
came
house.
to the DW Stadium and everyone was panicking because Jay Fielder got injured.
Field,
and
Coast and
Shorrocks had
Hampshire were all injured.
Yeah, and
Shorrocks
come in and did an absolutely fantastic job. And I think sometimes people forget that. He's had a bad call go against him. Most of the people, again, we've discussed this in section 1. I watched the game back on iPlayer, and at the end of the game, it does the Challenge Cup. I know if you watched it live, I think it went off and you had to press the red button on the iPlayer.
It was on the iPlayer, yeah.
You know, for that Challenge Cup extra.
Yeah.
Jamie Peacock was on the Kevin Brown, and I've forgotten the name. It was a female rugby league player, and all 3 of them said they didn't think it was a red card. Kevin Brown thought the Miskey one was worse. I don't know. Which I know. Whether you agree with that or not, we'll come on to when we talk about the Miskey incident. But he said, anyway, I think the Miskey one was actually worse and didn't get anything. They were both baffled that he didn't go off for an HIA, Mikey Lewis. But so it's very, like you're saying, to call him out, because a decision hasn't gone his way, and I've seen people saying he shouldn't wear the shirt again and things like that. I think sometimes people need to. We record this podcast not straight. We do this intentionally. We don't record the podcast straight away after
This podcast would have gone very differently if we'd recorded it.
Because you need to take the time to cool off, don't you? And reflect and...
Well, all the equipment would have been destroyed because it was wet through.
It would have smashed it all
Oh,
up
I was talking about the rain, but yeah,
but
thrown in the canal.
I think it's hard these days because everyone's got an opinion on the keyboard, but people, I think, need to calm down sometimes. I remember actually that Joe Shorrocks is a Wigan player who's done a fantastic job this season. He's done
nothing wrong.
And he's done nothing wrong in this instance.
He's done nothing wrong.
Shot on.
He shouldn't have been sent off. So we need to remember that. He's one of our lads. And
that's why I can't criticise him, because I didn't think it should be a red.
No.
I thought it was a penalty. I'll admit that. He's ended up around the neck.
Liam Moore's going to play on. Don't know if we said that in section 1, but Liam Moore went tackle 2 or whatever it was, and then when he stayed down, the time went off, and then the screen showed the video.
And then up he jumped.
You're going to start me on something that I've had
Lazarus.
You're going to start me on something that we've had multiple conversations with over the last week, the last few weeks anyway, about players staying down. This happens more in televised games, and it happens more in televised games because 10 seconds later the big screen sees it.
And the crowd shouts.
And the crowd starts shouting. And I've said this for the last 5 years, and I'm going to say it again. It's the first time I've ever said it on here. My solution's simple: to do exactly what they do in the NRL. During the game, they show one camera angle of what's going on, in case you can't see from the other side, because you're at the far end or whatever. And as soon as the game stops, they put an advert up for KFC. It was KFC. I don't know if it still is now.
No, it still is KFC. I think it's KFC still. Yeah.
And it says something like
20 chicken nuggets for a tenner.
Yeah.
Honestly, the deals always look crap.
I know, yeah.
But they put an advert up.
3 chicken tenders for about 50p.
Exactly, but they put this advert up. So you can't see the replay. What we're getting now is teams and players saying, staying down.
Hold your face.
Hold your face.
Hold your head.
There's some of the rumours of what was said in the Miski challenge. To stay down and hold your head. So the ref can look at it again. And that is a disgrace to our game.
Yeah.
It is a disgrace. Turn it off. The only thing that should show is the game live.
And a KFC bucket for £5.99.
It doesn't even have to be KFC. But it should show that, the sponsorship when there's a break in play, and when they go to the video ref, what the video ref's looking at.
Yeah.
That's all it should show.
They don't even show that in Australia.
Do they not?
They don't even show what the video ref's looking at. They should put an advert on then as well, I think.
I didn't know that.
You can hear the video ref though. Like the whistle.
In the
stadiums,
stadiums,
yeah.
Oh, right. See, I didn't know that. I knew you could hear them, but...
And they know everybody's name as well, and they know how to say everybody's name.
I talked about this I think it was 2 weeks ago, when all three of us were together.
Yeah, because I did
on
my
the
impression
podcast.
of the Aussie video ref, didn't I?
Yes.
Clear any contact.
We need to find a solution to this, because in my opinion, this is not what our game's been built on.
It's only going to
Staying
get
down,
worse.
holding your head, try and get penalty. If it's that, and I think there's my solution. Whether this would work in practice, I don't know. Again, if people disagree, you disagree. Explain to me why, and I'll probably. I'm not one who's gonna. If you can explain to me why it wouldn't work and I agree with it, I'll say fair enough. Yeah, you've changed my viewpoint. But for me, if you go down, holding your head or chin, and then get back up, you have to go off the field and be assessed. This have to, because you're holding your head, and you have to, and that is the way you stop it.
So I've seen a lot of people talk about this, about why Mikey Lewis didn't have to go for a HIA. He claimed
He held his head.
there was direct contact from the head and he couldn't get up to play the ball. He couldn't get up to play the ball. That means there should be a HIA assessment. Because he couldn't get up. He was lying on the floor and couldn't get up.
How has the doctor not took him off for an HIA? How did
Well,
he reach the decision that he doesn't?
Because he didn't hit his head. He didn't hit his head.
Yeah.
So there's no HIA to be had. He's hit the chest and then neck.
Yeah, but his head's still whipped, which is why he
Which whipped, which is what, well, he's given a red card because it was direct to the head, which it wasn't, but when he goes down like that and can't get up because of head issues, that has to be a HIA. If the game has to stop, there should be a HIA.
So he should have had two, because he held his head when it was.
Upper check.
But he got up and started wobbling about and steady on his feet. So even if he is pretending, if he's not been hitting the head and we're assuming he's pretending to try and get something, again, how a doctor has not said, right, you're off for 10 minutes, I need to assess you.
Yeah. Now
Do
this,
you know what I mean? Unless,
And
the
I don't-
only thing I can think is if the doctor ran on and he's gone, actually, I'm alright, I've not been hitting the head, and then the doctor's gone, right, he's okay. I just don't understand how, if you're a doctor watching that, you see a player stay down holding his head, you see him trying to get up and play the ball and he's all over the place.
no, I don't.
How has the decision been reached? He doesn't need to go for one.
Exactly.
Even if he's pretending, you know,
Yeah.
he's done a good job. You've got to get him off for me.
I don't
how
want
has
to
that
pick on
decision
Mikey
been reached?
Lewis. I don't want to pick on Mikey Lewis because it's just so happened that this is the time that it's happened.
Something bad's coming around the corner for Mikey Lewis again. Every time he does something like this, he gets humbled publicly. And
But I
he'll-
just think-
he'll never get over being consoled by that big red dog when he lost against us last time.
But I look and I go, we're talking about Mikey Lewis because this was the incident that's been brought it up again. Most teams are doing it. Most teams are doing it. And
If we're being completely honest, Liam Farrell did it last year in the cup final to try and get 2 points, and then we scored off the play anyway.
I look and I just think it's happening more and more and more. And if the rumours are true that a part of the next TV deal is that every game is going to have a video ref, which is one of the rumours I've read,
Yeah.
then it's going to get even worse. So kill it now. Kill the issue now by taking a stern stance. We aren't going to publicise any injury. We aren't going to do anything like that. If you need to stay down injured, the ref should have already...
No, the video ref can still look at it
Yeah.
and tell the referee to send him off.
If it's foul play.
But don't put it on the screen for the crowd to see. Or
Exactly.
for the video ref to look for the
the-
players. Because the players were all over him surrounding the ref, which doesn't usually happen in rugby.
Just once the video ref looks at it, no one at that ground should see it again.
No.
The only time they should see it again is when they go home and watch it. Again, because it's been on BBC or whatever. I just think
Influence.
take that issue there, and then you bring in refs into questioning whether they made the right call. Because Liam Moore told him to play on.
Yeah.
So and now he's questioning, well, what have I missed? You know what I mean? You'll make.
So how do you say you want to I don't know. I'm just trying to think of solutions again here to problems. How do you get that out the game?
Two things.
How do you stop players going down on the chin trying to win penalties or get players sent off?
Get the
for 10
automatic
minutes or
HIA if
whatever?
you have to stop the game for a head.
If you have
injury.
to, if the game has to stop because you have had a head knock, it is an automatic HIA.
Okay.
If you have to stop the game for any other injury, it's a green card. We don't see enough of them, and turn the screen off, so you can't look at it again.
Because the players watched it and surrounded the ref and said send him off.
It was a penalty the moment he hits his neck. It's not a penalty 2 minutes later when you watch the replay.
Yeah.
That's my
No, it's a
personal
fair point.
opinion.
No, it's a fair point.
Them three things.
Like I said,
Have to be
I would. If you go down holding your chin, like I said, automatic HIA, that's how I would try and stop it. Stop encouraging it. Like it's just if you go down holding your chin.
I mean,
You're
things like when Ryan Sutton got hit in the chin, he had to go off for a HIA, didn't he? He failed it. So you don't want people trying to play on for head tests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Knocks.
What if Mikey Lewis was actually concussed?
He might have been.
And he got and he
His
said-
head whipped, so it might have been. It's not the actual contact of the head so much as the whiplash, is it, that it causes?
And this is what I mean. Just got to be stricter on it. If you've received a penalty because of a head injury,
Well,
and we've had to stop the game.
take somebody off every time there's a high tackle.
Well, I might have gone too far though.
Not
But
far.
if a doctor has had to look at you, because you get ones caught in the nose and whatever, and they a bit of blood and whatever, and they deal with it, play on. But if the game has to stop, it's an automatic HIA. If a player stays down injured and the doctor has to come on the field, green card. And we have to be overly strict now to stop it.
Yeah.
And whether that's the 75th minute of a game or the first minute of a game, I don't care. Because it has to be done that way.
Yeah. I don't like. I said a couple of weeks ago. I don't like it creeping into the game. I think it's one thing that a game prides itself on, and I know a lot of people like who I talk to who might like rugby league, but aren't that big fans of it. They say, no, I do like it. And they can use the comparison to football and say, you see all these men rolling around, then they get up once a free kick's been given and they're running around, and they say, like, you watch
That's what's
80
coming
minutes,
in, though.
people, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it does. It brings people, it's based on physicality, it's toughness, it's grit, it's determination. We don't want to see people rolling around on floor, holding the faces, holding their heads, holding the chins when they've not been hit there, or they're not even that hurt, they're just trying and get a man sent off.
Now,
We need to talk about rugby again, but then I'm just going to be talking about drop goals and
well, let's get back onto it then. So then,
Charge
Sean
goal.
Kenny Dowell gets a sin bin.
yeah. Then we take 2 points.
And we take 2 points to put it to 10-6. I've said on this podcast before that I'm not a massive fan of taking two, but I 100% understood the idea.
When you're down to 12 men and you're up by 4 points in a cup semi-final, when are you not going to take two?
My only question though is, we're on the line and it's 12v12.
I know. But
One try, they can't win that game. They have to get two then. And we never got field position back in that next 10 minutes. Not to the same position that we were. And I just wonder, and I questioned it at the time, but I understood why they took two. I just questioned, could we have been braver and said, no, we're going to back ourselves.
Yeah, but you kick for the corner and you knock on, or you kick dead or whatever, and they've got 7 tackles and you conceded anyway.
Exactly.
So you might as well go 6 points up.
But
and get the ball
I just
back.
think you have to know that you're going to play the next 40 minutes without... You've
Well,
only
you
played
could-
10 minutes.
you
You're going to play the last 20 with a man less. Now's your chance to get a try.
Maybe.
If we get a try in the next 10 minutes, then I don't question it. I'm only questioning it now because I thought that was a chance that we could have got to 2-score lead. But when Kenny Dowell comes back on, he does really well to get that offload out, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There's 3 men around him and he finds the offload to, is it Ethan Ryan?
No, he gets the
off a
offload
check and off
to
a check,
check.
gives the ball to
No,
Ethan
no,
Ryan.
Feeds Ethan Ryan.
Parcell.
Oh, is it
Falls
Parcell?
to Parcell. And Parcell gives it out.
Parcell was really good in this game. He come off the bench, didn't he, which he doesn't usually do, but he was really, really good.
It's just... Sorry. That was a big try,
kick was bigger.
The kick was bigger.
Yeah.
And that is a brilliant kick from Schneider.
The kick was bigger. Because I said to you...
Only just made its way over, but it did make its way over.
I said to you, it's 10-8 now.
Mm.
The fans are getting excited. Mikey Lewis was dancing in front of the Wigan fans. But if this doesn't go over, they still have to score again. And Wigan can play with a lead with 12 men and be conservative. If it does go over, we have to score again. And the game dynamic changes completely. And I said, watch the roof lift off this place if he kicks this. And it did. Just the momentum switch there. Because we would still have been level, I think, on momentum if he'd missed that kick. If we'd been 2 points in front but they just scored, whatever. Kenny Doyle back on the field. But because he made that kick, it just gave them all the momentum. And honestly, we did well to keep it 10 apiece.
So it goes to 10-10.
And then it goes to the drop goal-a-thon.
It goes in the last, 5 minutes of the game, then into golden point.
So our first attempt...
Well, actually, they had the first attempt, didn't they? And Kai Pearce-Paul charged it down.
Kai Pearce-Paul got the first one.
And they charged it down, and then we deal with the set.
No, that wasn't a drop goal he was charging, that was a regular kick.
Was that a regular kick?
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
That was a regular
I
kick.
think we had the first one. Smith looks like he's setting up for it, then he gives the ball out to French.
Who probably shouldn't have tried it, given that we had another tackle left.
Yeah.
But it got charged down. The man who picked it up was,
I think, in an offside
I
position.
think, in an offside position. So there you go.
But I can understand.
We're expecting 2 easy points there, right in front of sticks for Smith to kick us in the lead.
But I can understand how difficult it is for the ref there, because Wigan have sent it to the left.
He looked at his touch judge and then said, "Play on."
That's what I mean. Wigan have sent it to the left, sent it back to the right,
He was offside.
been charged down, and fallen to a blow. That's very difficult for the ref. I think he needs some help off his assistant there.
The assistant got it wrong.
The next one, I can't defend the ref. When Smith has a goal later on,
Yes.
from the left-hand side.
Which was a stupid decision because we weren't lined up for it.
we weren't lined up for it, and Wigan have got to take a lot of criticism that we didn't set up well
We
for
were
any of the
stupid.
drop goal.
We were stupid. We didn't set up a drop goal properly at all. But we were too far out on that set anyway, so we probably shouldn't have
The
attempted.
best chance Smith had is the one where he went back to French, and I thought, why didn't he just try and put it over there? It was right in the middle. It was, just off to the right-hand
He's being
side.
too clever.
So the perfect thing for a left-footed kick, you would think.
But then his attempt was charged down, and the ball finds its way to Field, who assumes because it's been charged down. I mean, Peter Schmeicheled it with a starfish save. That it was definitely going to be 6 again, and he gets tackled. Now they have a set on our line, and we pretty much think that's it, done now. That's it. But to give him credit, Field made up for his error. He charged down the drop kick, and when it was passed,
Then
chased down
down.
Kenny Dowell, which was incredible. They threw the ball about, we're panicking, but they didn't. They end up not scoring, which means it went to extra time.
Now, I did see someone say this. Why is it golden point and not extra time in a cup semi-final?
We said that
Because
after a particular game. I can't remember which game it was.
Was it OKR when we went to...
no, I don't think it was one of ours that we went to golden.
No, I think it might have been when Leeds and Saints played, maybe. I can't remember.
But
Anyway, everyone loves Golden Point because Wigan lost in it.
well, there's that.
So Golden Point is the correct this week because Wigan lost in Golden Point is correct.
My
If
issue
Wigan
with
had
that
dropped, if Wigan
situation
had
is
won, then it would have been wrong.
my situation with it
Or St Helens or Leeds.
is too much is dependent on the coin toss. If you kick off golden point, you have a chance to defend, pin them to the 40, you bring your 4 tackles out. In reality, how often does a team receive a kick-off and go 70 metres, set up for a drop goal in 5 tackles? It just doesn't happen.
Wakefield against us this season. When they went Fifita,
Yeah.
Tony, Fifita, and they were over halfway after 3 tackles.
It's one of the first times I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
I just think too much is dependent on that coin toss of who kicks off.
Yeah.
They're going to get the first goal.
Well, OKR kicked off, didn't they, to us? We received it, and we decided to kick on
That's
the
a poor decision.
3rd tackle.
Going
we
for a
didn't,
40-20.
we didn't really have good field position.
But do you not think that comes down to the fact that
Smith
we know
has
we can't
kicked
get
it.
there?
But you could still have 2 more tackles and belt it, and then they're starting from deeper, and your defensive line is starting from further up.
It was a very...
I think he's gone for something to try and
It's a decision that doesn't make sense to me. Plus,
Yeah.
if you have 2 more tackles, you can flop around a bit like a fish and
It's
see
the
if he gives you a
first,
6 again.
and it's the first set of golden point. You need, have a bit of patience. Get your way up the field.
That's
get a
the
good
thing,
kick
it
away.
seemed like
Back
it
your
lacked-
defence to restrict the meters, or maybe try and force an error and win some territory that way from them.
Oh, I remember what it must have been an NRL game. Because somebody didn't have a chance. Somebody didn't touch the ball, did they? Oh yeah, the Panthers. The Panthers had extra time and they didn't touch the ball because Moses drilled a drop goal. That was what it was, because you weren't here for that, Lewis, and we asked you the next week.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on it?
I just think too much is dependent, and it's very, very rare that someone is able to get a decent go at a field goal in that first
Well,
step.
Everyone
No,
loves
if that
extra
semi,
time now because the big team lost.
if that semi though was at Cass, receiving the ball is better. Honestly, you're
'Cause the
starting
pitch
to
is
talk
so
about the
short.
pitch, and you're going, actually, we could get to the 30 in 5 carries and have a go. That doesn't feel right to me,
Yeah.
in my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
We talked about it before with the Para game against Penrith. That it's not fair when one team touches the ball. Obviously, we had a chance at this one.
But
We kicked on the third.
Wrong
Ronke
decision.
managed to come back. Down half, and Schneider, to be fair to him, has hit an absolutely excellent
Yeah, he didn't even need to be close.
drop goal.
He would have kicked that drop goal from inside his own half. I think it was that good.
Well,
yeah.
what I was about to say is how did his goal only just get over? And then he absolutely nailed that. I would be seriously looking.
But what's he going to do this week? He's not playing at Headingley. That's
He's only played 2 games and won 2 golden
He's
points.
played 2 games. He's won 2 games in Golden Point with a drop goal at Headingley.
Brilliant, isn't it?
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of clubs looking at him. Leeds should be looking at him.
Canberra is contracted to Canberra.
Well, not they've released him.
No, this was loan, I think.
No,
I'm pretty sure
they
he's
announced that
contracted
they've
for
released
next
him.
year.
I'm gonna have a look at
For
that.
the remainder of the season.
One thing I'd like to say before we wrap this bit up is obviously it's been a very dubious. Obviously, the referee decision, the red card, has played a massive effect on the game. But I was kind of reflecting on this the other night. As much as it pains us to go out in a semi-final and to obviously not get there and try and have a chance of a training hour cup, we played the quarter-final with essentially 12 men because Cade Ellis got sent off in
3 minutes.
3 minutes, was it, or something daft like that. Managed to win that game. We've played 38 minutes of the semi-final with 12 men and gone all the way and took them to Golden Point.
And
I
in the
think
last-
we really
no.
need to be proud of our players and the effort they've put in this
There's
competition.
one more you've missed there. We decided to go 14-0 down against Leeds at Headingley
And fight back.
and fight back.
So it's been a really, obviously we didn't manage to get there, we've not won it, we've not got to the final, but I think we can be really proud of the effort our players have put into this competition. They've
There is a path. There is a path that gets you to the final, where you play a couple of championship teams, you play maybe a lower league team in Super League, and then you're in the final. That's not the way we would have done it.
No.
I mean, my dad said at the start of the game, in fact before the game, he said, if we win today, we've earned this because everything's going against us. The whole world wants us to lose. That's a fact. We've been put in the worst stand. We've got a third of the fans of the other team.
We've been drawn away from home in the quarters.
We've been drawn away from home at Leeds in the last 16.
In the last 16, sorry.
We've been drawn against Warrington in the cup. So, like, we would have really earned this. Plus the red card, plus going down early against Leeds at Headingley. Yeah, this was... People talk about Wigan should be making the final, should be doing this, should be doing that. What a tough run. You know, it's
Look,
not...
a semi-final, sitting in third. We know what happened last season when we did win the Challenge Cup and we lacked that bit of steam towards the end of the year and got knocked out in the semis against Leeds.
It could give us a chance to go again because Catalan aren't infallible.
Yeah.
We've got Lee up there who...
Is there anyone in this league that you look at and go,
The team
we can't beat them?
No, the team that I would still like to avoid is St Helens. Despite all the news for this week.
Because
Despite the fact they just got beat by Leeds.
it just means more playing them, and
But
any team can win that.
because
when
I
Wigan
think-
Saints play each other, don't matter how
No,
good
but
they
I
are.
think any 80 minutes St Helens can beat anybody.
That's what I mean. But
That's still the team I would want to avoid, if possible.
Them and Catalan for me.
But I
don't think
think-
we've not beat Catalan yet.
I know,
season.
we're not beat Catalan, but I do think Catalan only just beat St Helens, and Saints weren't really great.
I have a few issues with Catalans. Obviously, they've now lost Morg for pretty much up until the playoffs, and we all know that Sam's got his injury issues. They're in a difficult situation here out because he has to play in the playoffs. Sam, if he plays in the playoffs, he can win any game by himself. How do they manage the squad from here until then?
McNamara's clever enough; he'll figure it out.
Right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have a fly through the NRL. So, we just had technical issues, that's why I'm giggling. We'll just come back after a quick break.
we just
looking at the NRL.
spoke about the Dragons and the Tigers for about 5 minutes, and then you told us you're not recording.
Yeah,
So we'll try and remember what we said.
We'll try and remember what we said. Basically, a battle for the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
First game on Thursday.
Yeah.
The Dragons won 18 points to 14. It was not a great game.
No.
It seems like St George were just less bad than the West Tigers. I don't know if maybe St George just won or they were just less bad.
It wasn't a great game, but there was a great moment, which was Ravalawa's try, coming off the back of a ridiculous offload from Zach Lomax. You've got to see it to believe it.
Go and watch it.
It was fully wrapped up. It was the best offload I've seen for a while.
But also, Lomax was probably the key man here.
He scored.
Scored and 3 goals.
And he set that one up.
And he set that try up.
Got dropped, didn't he, by the
About 6-7 weeks ago. Yeah.
He was having a bad spell. Well, I don't
We
know.
spoke about it, yeah.
And I said I quite rate him. I always thought he was good, and when I said that, you realised with the fact he's been dropped, now he's come and been the main man in this game.
Yeah.
So good bounce back from him. He's played well, but yeah, 18-14 final result coming because would you say West Tigers only kicked one
One of the 3 goal attempts that they had, and that was Appy's that was from under the sticks.
And to be honest, the Dragons deserve this because the West only scored when Tyrell Sloan was in the sin bin twice, and the first try wasn't great either. So I do think the West are really doing it tough, really struggling at the moment. The Dragons were the better team in this game and deserved the win, even if it was just on the back of 2 successful goal kicks.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Friday.
Well, Friday,
I've got to talk about the Raiders.
there was 2 games on, 2 quite good games really.
Yeah.
First one going to Golden Point, the Warriors versus the Raiders. Matty, your Raiders losing 21-20. Talk me. Let's start in the last 10 minutes. Talk me through it.
I was watching this. Yeah, it was 20 points to 10, and well, it was actually 20 points to 6, and there was 20 minutes left. But Rapana scored. They missed the goal.
So that was 26 to who?
It was 20 points to 6 to the Warriors.
To the Warriors.
To the Warriors, yeah. And so it was 20 points to 10 with about 90 seconds left. Whitehead crashes over, and then from the kick-off, the Raiders are quite expansive after one drive, I think, and Jack Whiten ends up getting through. And that Kiwi commentator I so love was acting a bit disappointed. He wasn't very neutral with this bit. He was a bit disappointed that Whiten had scored, but he scored out wide to level it up, and Croker had a kick to win the game, but he missed. So it went to a Golden Point extra time. The Warriors had an excellent setup, and Sean Johnson, the man who has had like a remarkable comeback season, nailed the drop goal, and it was a bit like Brad Schneider's, to be honest. I think it would have been good from about 40 metres further back.
Right.
He nailed it over the stadium.
Been good, Sean Johnson. We talked about him before, haven't we? But
Yeah.
Sean Johnson this season seems to be revitalised.
Another match win for him, another try for
He's just-
Lionel Richie.
He gets everything right, Sean Johnson.
Love the fact you called Danny Martinez Celestine. I know.
Darren Martinez, wasn't it? He does look like Lionel Richie.
does look
though.
like
He
Lionel
scores
Richie.
tries. Yeah, another try.
To be fair, Lionel would be a winger, wouldn't he?
There was 2 penalties as well for the Warriors. That's why they scored 1 try fewer. But Sean Johnson kicked 4 goals out of they only scored 3 tries.
And the game after that was looking to be very, very tasty. South Sydney versus Brisbane. South Sydney with been going it without a couple of their star players for the last couple of weeks. They had.
Well, it's nice to see for the Broncos that Walsh is back. Ezra Reynolds, Payne Haas was there, Carrigan.
Yeah, the only one they were missing was Oates.
Olds, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably the first time for a while that they've been back to full strength. But
And
another
they
team,
had a guy on the bench whose name was Tyson Smoothie.
what a name! Oh, look at how it's spelt as well.
Tyson Smoothie.
It is spelt. Oh my! It is spelt how you would expect it to be. Impressive.
How
But
good is that though? Your name's Smoothie.
this is, I listened to a podcast the other day about them talking about the Rabbitohs, and the underlying thing was that at the start of the season, everyone questioned the right side attack, and they got off to a flyer. Campbell Graham couldn't stop scoring. Lachlan Ilias was all over everything. Colin Matunga, the second rubber, was brilliant. Then they've started going back to Cody Walker's side. Now they've picked up the injuries of Latrell and a few others. I still think they are the biggest threat to the Premiership.
Well,
They can win it from 8, and I think they know it.
They're only missing Latrell this game. Everyone else was back.
That's what I mean, though. This is now a side that's getting back to what it should be.
Yeah.
And I think they know they can win it from 8th.
The full-time result was 36-20 to Brisbane, by the way, because I don't know if we said that. So it was 36-20 to Brisbane.
But Souths were winning at half time.
Yeah, it's the coach of South Sydney come out and slandered him. They give him a bit of a spray in the media, I believe, saying it wasn't good enough. Probably because they were winning at half time and didn't manage to kind of see it through and have gone to lose by 16 points, so he wasn't very happy.
Well,
that's all what he saw. From
in the
team.
space of 13 minutes, they conceded 3 tries and 4 goals.
Yeah, but I think it's because they were winning at half time, Lewis, but also because Brisbane had 2 sin bins.
Yeah.
Because Tapau was sin bin. What on earth was he doing, by the way? He was running back a kick, or a kick-off must have been. Did they just score, maybe? I don't know. He was running back a kick-off. Oh yeah,
he just scored. Tony Staggs had just scored.
Staggs had just scored. And he just raised his knee up to chest level. And whoever was trying to tackle him took his knee and his boot in their midriff.
Oh, I saw this actually. Yeah, I was watching the.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he ran him with a raise, a bit similar to Suwali, and he's been done
I
bad with
think
a
it was
couple.
worse because
it was
this one was bad.
It's not the stomach level. This one. This is like ribs.
Yeah,
It's on his chest.
Very obvious.
And then Jesse Arthurs gets a sin bin late on as well.
Yeah.
With 10 minutes left, and they still score again, the Broncos. So that's why I think he'll be upset.
Yeah.
But I also believe that if the Rabbitohs get clicking, they can beat anyone.
Yeah,
I think in the next 2 weeks, that right side needs to stand up.
You got to give some credit to the Broncos, though.
Oh, the Broncos are a brilliant side.
Yeah.
I just think that right hand side of Sydney's attack has to stand up now. Show some, again, with threats on both sides, and free up Cody Walker with that. Let's move on. Guess who won this week? The Roosters won.
They did.
They beat the Titans. Who would have been surprised at that?
That's harsh.
They were 36-0 up. 36-0 up.
I know. And Lindsay Collins decided he would turn into prime Billy Slater for one of them. Again. What's it with Lindsay Collins? Just thinking he's a fullback.
But let's go through that team again. It's now actually, the backs are actually looking somewhat what you would expect, like Tedesco, Tupu. They've still got Billy Smith in there, but Manu and Suwali as the back 5.
Billy Smith is a good player.
A good player.
If there's anyone who was going to keep his place, it was Billy Smith.
I just think now it's starting to look again like a Roosters side, and they look like they're enjoying it.
And they got Sandon Smith and Brandon Smith. Sandon Smith, Brandon Smith, Billy Smith. It's a good day for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Proud all 3 boys playing for the Roosters.
So the Roosters now are 2 points off the 8.
They're not done yet.
Well, this is the scary thing, right? Everyone up to 14th is at most 4 points away from the 8. And if the Roosters make the 8, they can beat anyone.
I saw Gus Gould. Who was it today said can't win the comp? Brisbane. Gus Gould said today Brisbane can't win the comp.
Gus Gould doesn't know what he's talking about. He's one of the biggest idiots I've ever heard in rugby league.
Leave our Gus out of it.
You need to start listening to his podcast.
Leave our Gus out of it, right?
He said they 25 points for a win league table system.
That was stupid, yeah.
He just loves a provocative statement, doesn't he?
He said the Brisbane Broncos can't win the comp because the defence isn't good enough.
That's questionable.
It's a big call, isn't it?
Um,
That's all he does though, Gus. Just
he likes to go big.
big
He also said he can see Penrith winning 6 in a row.
I don't even know why he still works in the media when he's actually employed by a club. It's like John Wells, but only much worse because he's in a high position.
Well, I'll ask you this at the end. I'll let you have time to think about it.
Well, I need to know the question then.
This is what I'm going to say. I want your favourites to win the comp. Who's going to win the grand final?
Penrith.
I don't want an answer yet.
Stop asking me. It's Penrith. Penrith are the favourites until somebody proves they're not good enough. Which is not gonna
Next
happen.
game. Knights beat the Storm 26 points to 18. A massive win for the Knights, really.
Yeah.
And actually,
This was a big surprise.
keeps them in the race for the top 8.
This Munster said this was the worst Storm performance he can remember for a while. Considering they've got beat by 50 odd already this year, this is a big thing to say. They've lost by 8.
They went 12-0 up. They then conceded 24 unanswered points. They had a man sin binned. And then the last 20 minutes, they never looked like scoring. There was no real attacking threat, in my opinion. A completely un-Melbourne performance. Now, a team that definitely have improved over the last 8 weeks and are possibly an outside chance of winning the comp, the Cowboys beat the Eels. Cowboys are playing some brilliant footy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Their season's just been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? They're peaking at just the right time, going towards the back end of the season. But I always go back to, I know it's only one result, but it was obviously a big result in their season. That hammering they got by West Tigers, and to come back from that now, and they're putting into performances and the scores and the results that they're getting, it is remarkable.
Some key men for him. Val Holmes at centre he was a player that you never really knew where he played originally. He started on the wing and then he was
play fullback.
played fullback a bit and whatever, but he was never a brilliant fullback. He was never the best in the world, and he was a good winger, and he'd always get in the Origin team on the wing. He's now the Aussie starting centre.
Say it quietly as well, but the Cowboys have got one of the best fullbacks in the world
Scotty Drinkwater.
in Drinky. Scott Drinkwater.
Someone mentioned this.
Unbelievable.
He's one of the favourites to win the Dally M.
I'm surprised.
Bear in mind, he missed 3 games through a shoulder charge ban.
I'm not surprised he's one of the favourites. He is.
Imagine if Nico Hines and Scott Drinkwater win the Dally M back to back. 2 fullbacks that Melbourne said were surplus to requirements.
Well, Melbourne.
They don't get many wrong, Melbourne, but they've
No,
got
I know.
them 2 wrong.
But they kept Pappenhausen, didn't they? And Nick Meaney. And they also had Gutherson, am I right? Saying they had Gutherson as well.
I'm not sure about that.
There's certainly a fourth incredible fullback that Melbourne all had at one point.
But Val Holmes, a brilliant kicker as well. And Scott Drinkwater, I think he's now top for try assists.
He's
played
ridiculous, and he
some
scored one
footy
himself.
that I can't even imagine playing.
Well, one talking point of this is Valentine Holmes getting sin binned for doing the exact same thing as Joe Shorrocks. And the referee said to him, it's direct contact to the head with the shoulder, so it's a sin bin.
Yeah. And that was direct to the head.
It made my head blow up. I know we don't play with the same rules, but we should. It's rugby league, we should play with the same rules.
Now, on to Sunday, I think it was. Yeah, it was Sunday.
Gus Gould.
The Gus Gould derby.
Stop listening again. Oh yeah, the Gus Gould derby.
Penrith versus the Bulldogs.
The team that he made into the contender that they are today, and then left to join this new team.
The Penrith win 44 points to 18.
It's just too easy.
I've got... The Bulldogs' defence is just poor.
Yep.
It's consistently poor.
Yeah.
And one of the bright sparks, they're letting go to the Dolphins in Jake Averillo.
Averillo, yeah. He was so good. Lovely try in this game.
But I have got a question for you.
The
What are your opinions on these try celebrations they're all pulling out? I know it's for charity.
I was going to talk to you about this. Try July. I love it.
Because some of them from the Panthers.
Oh, the Panthers have taken it to a
They
bit
took
of an
it to a
extreme.
next level.
I forgot to mention it, but Hastings has basically said sorry that the Knights don't do them, but they just keep getting caught up in celebrating and just start diving on each other. But these other teams, right, that have got it in their heads that they're going to do celebrations. Every celebration that's interesting and unique this month is given £5,000 to charity, and it's a way of showing a bit more
Human side and...
showing a bit more personality. So obviously the famous one was Whitehead when he got stumped, pretending to be Johnny Burstow. Got Piers Morgan rattled.
I'm loving the who was it against the Bulldogs?
Someone did
got down. Reece Walsh did a backflip and then threw up.
Reece Walsh did a backflip and then threw up. Yeah, that was.
But someone scored against the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago. Got up, picked the ball up to take a selfie.
Oh, a selfie, yeah.
And Reed Marnie came over and slapped the ball.
That's good though, because we've had too many selfies. That celebration's been played out now. We need some new ones. I like the
in the NRL women's comp. Do you see the Parramatta girl who scored?
The one who did the limbo.
Yeah, she scored, and two other players picked her up, shoulder high, and all the players did the limbo underneath her. So I am loving these celebrations.
There was one where they were pretending she was a fish. That was funny as well. They're good. I like them. The Titanic
one of the Raiders scored a penalty, didn't he? Put
Oh
the ball
yeah,
under.
he scored.
Under.
He scored a penalty goal, and there was a goalkeeper dove the wrong way for it. That was a good one. They're interesting.
I'm liking it because it's just bringing something
They were-
creative.
Yeah,
When the comp's now going to get a little bit tougher because everyone's now fighting for the 8,
it's a bit.
it sort of took the stress away a little
Yeah.
bit, and that's going to disappear now and get more competitive.
Fans of the old school footy show will have recognised one of them. Somebody did a That's Gold celebration and a head wobble after the famous Paul Vorton. Fatty Vorton, a head
But-
wobble.
I do suggest go back and have a look at some of the try celebrations because
Yeah.
it's been brilliant.
They're funny.
But you had to think about what you'd do.
No, I know. I'm we're in the last week of
If you
July now,
thought
so
it-
it's really tough.
If you had to think about, like, okay, you're going to score a try, what's your celebration going to be?
And if you're the Bulldogs and you've
What
just
would you do?
scored and you're 44 points to 6 down in the last 10 minutes, do you still do it?
That's it, mate.
Or do you think,
I would.
I play for the Bulldogs, I'm not going to score again this month. Let's
you've
just
got to.
do it. I'll be a
Who was it?
surfing cat or
There
something.
was one that was for the Dolphins where he got down and did the worm, didn't he?
Oh, I've seen the
He,
word.
he, he
yeah.
slid and
I've seen
then
that.
did
I've seen
the
the
worm.
John Cena, you can't see me.
Somebody
Dan
did
Andrew
yeah,
that,
Toby
that's
Rudolph
what
for the Sharks did a people's elbow.
the people's
That
elbow,
was good.
Some WWE one
They'll
comes
never
out.
beat Piggy Riddell, former Wigan player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
when he
he
scored for
Scores
St.
a
George.
try, jumps into an empty seat and claps himself.
And claps himself.
He didn't
Oh.
even do that for money though.
Brian Fletcher when he did
The grenade.
the hand grenade, that was good.
I like it, mate. But let's go back onto the Dogs. Penrith were good, but
Yeah.
I struggle to praise a team that beats the Bulldogs at the moment. And I feel awful saying that because we said how well they'd improved earlier on. They've took a step back.
They got the fans on side, but they've lost them again.
They've lost the momentum again. And there's talks that the captain is going to be released because he's unhappy with the intensity of training. Is one of the quotes I've seen.
Really?
Yeah. Players
Who's
are
that?
unhappy. The captain that they brought in the off season. What's his name? I don't think he played. I think they rested him.
Burton's been captain for a few weeks.
No,
What, so he's not happy with the intensity?
It's not going to be him
of
though, is it?
training?
No.
It'll be a forward, probably.
exactly. I'll try and find the quote.
That's mad, I've never heard
What,
of that.
say too intense or not intense enough for not training?
Too
like-
intense.
Well, you need
I'll have a look for it now. Whilst we do this.
Peachy was good. We talk about the Panthers, they really look good, don't they? The back seven.
They're just a good side.
Doing the Panthers.
It,
Whilst you're looking for that, should we talk about then the final game that happened on
Yeah.
Sunday? Whilst you're looking for that, so final game, Cronulla versus Manly. Manly have gone on to win 30 points to 26,
Yeah.
so only 4 points in it.
Yeah, but they were 30-0 up, Lewis. The Manly were 30-0 up after 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So this is a crazy game of two
This
halves.
is a crazy game. Well, a bit weird, isn't it? We're like, obviously, Cronulla obviously haven't had they've had a shocking first start to concede that many points. But Cronulla were going well. Everyone tipped them for possibly, being in grand final
Yeah.
contention. They're still, I believe, they're still in the 8.
Oh, yeah, they'll
But-
be, yeah.
They
Was
seem
it-
to be struggling last couple of weeks.
They're in sixth.
Nico Hines come back now from Origin camps and things like that. So you're thinking they should be kicking on, but
The Storm have kind of overtaken them before this week, but they've dropped down to 6th, the Sharks.
yeah, I think they've lost the last couple on the bounce now. So
The Cowboys are into the 8. And I said a few weeks ago, the Cowboys to me were a bit of a dark horse.
yeah,
I can see the current 8 with maybe the Rabbitohs in for the Eels. I'll be honest.
right.
That's what I can
See the Eels dropping out.
I can see the Eels dropping out because I do think, like you said, Tom, I do think the Rabbits will finish in the top 8.
Yeah. They've got too many good players to not do the Rabbitohs, I think.
Yeah.
When you look at them, they've got stars all around the park. Good win for Manly. Obviously, I kind of say every week about the inconsistency. They tend to pick up results some weeks, then can't back it up.
Yeah, they were very
In the
good in
league.
attack this game.
After
The attack was really clicking.
Yeah, they're a bit probably concerned at conceded 20. They let it go so close, they'll probably want to tighten that defence up. Moving forward.
So, the thing that I've seen, just going back onto that,
The Bulldogs.
the Bulldogs was the captain, Raymond Fatiala Mariner, was given permission to leave the club.
It's probably a sign of a gas. Everybody else is.
Was given permission to leave the club. The then talks were that. Let me try and find the correct wording of that. I'm struggling to find the wording of it, and I'll post the link on the Twitter when I can find it.
So he's basically kind of said he's not happy with training.
After criticising that it was too intense and was leading to injuries.
Well, he did have a lot of injuries in training. I did think that was a bit strange.
But so Buzz Rothfield talking about this incident spoke to Cameron Serraldo.
I'll do it in his voice if you want.
Saying that he's
Cameron, what do you make of this? What do you make of this comment from your captain about training being too severe?
It's a great buzz. It's a great show.
But basically said, I spoke to Cameron today, and I think it's a little cultural problem, and it's just not on the football field. Most of the players are going along with it, but some are struggling. They can't cope with it. They are just not used to intensity and the demands. And that's coming out of the Dogs. That's a worry, that.
It's a big worry because can't think of anything, a story similar to it.
No,
I've heard people not being happy with the club for whatever reason, but because training is too intense and it's leading to more injuries, you're not happy and you want to leave because you're scared of getting injured.
Well, no. Apparently, by the sounds of it, he's complained about the intensity, and the Dogs have said, "Right, you're free to go."
Right. Okay.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
But also, you've got to consider the Dogs are also looking at Tino to bring in Tino Fossimo, aren't they?
Yeah, Tino,
along with several others.
So this was bonkers. They were going to pay him so much money on the cap, but also give him shares in a pub to get around the salary cap.
That is.
But
also looking at paying Haas, who's another $1 million player.
Must be rules against.
But if the pub
that's
fit,
just breaching the salary,
and
cap.
they've like agreed to buy Payne Haas like a race course or something like a race course and a mosque or something. It like just bizarre.
You may as well just pay them $1 a year, but then say to the wife, "We'll take you on the books as a cleaner, but we'll pay you whatever a year, and then it doesn't go towards your salary cap for your players."
But they said to Tino apparently, if the shares in the pub fail, like if the pub fails and closes down, we'll just give you cash instead. That's just breaking the salary cap blatantly. Then, not even trying to hide it anymore.
Another one.
What do you do for a living? I'm the prop forward for the Country Backstone Bulldogs and also a pair on with the Dog and Pear Tree.
Another one with this though is it's brilliant because all week our friend Gus has been having secret meetings.
Oh, he has, yeah.
He's been reported as
Blake
having
Taff.
Yeah, and
Somebody else from the Rabbitohs, who was it?
But these secret meetings have happened at public coffee shops.
They're not
where anyone can see him.
People just taking pictures of him.
And I just think, like, how is this press? How is this news? Manager meets with player over potential signing, but it's secret.
Buzz would make it into it.
Secret meeting between Gus Gould and 3 Rabbitohs members.
I can't see. I'm worried for the Dogs because every time I think they're getting this right and they've made 2 or 3 good steps, they then do something and you go, what are you doing that for? That's a bad choice. Letting Avarillo go.
I don't get how you would actually ever get a... With everything that's going on with that, if you was a player, what is going to attract you to go there? Besides big money. That's it. They have to get big money.
Load.
You're thinking there's been players leaving about intensity. You've got people... The manager Buzz... not Buzz, he's the media guy. Gus Gould having secret meetings with people. It just looks... tremendous.
It's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and they end up no different
They
position.
end up in the exact same place, just overpaying for free agents.
Yeah, it really it worries me. Right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with our predictions for Super League. Actually, I didn't ask you the question. Sorry.
What?
Before we break,
But Mike Danson. Oh, Penrith.
you're saying Penrith. Who do you fancy?
To win the comp, Melbourne.
Oh wow!
Melbourne.
After this week, you just got beat.
Right, but hey, good teams are going to lose.
Yeah, okay.
Really?
They're up there. They know how to win the
Melbourne
big games.
would
They've been and
break
done it.
break the curse of if you get beat by
I was
50
saying
50 points,
Souths.
you win.
I was saying Souths all the way through
I
the
know,
year.
yeah.
But with how they've dropped off and the fact that they're sitting outside the top 8. I know obviously they're close, but they're sitting
It's on points
just
difference.
outside. I'm a
Well,
bit like have they took too big of a dip to try and then come back up and win a comp? I don't know. So maybe I'll stick with it, Melbourne.
I was very, very tempted to go the Rabbitohs. I just don't think I can. With Brisbane though. I think Brisbane brings it back this year.
Oh yeah, you're disagreeing with Gus.
I just... Whether that's me wanting it, so ex-Wigan coach Lee Breers wins an NRL comp.
Herbie,
I just...
good Northwest lad, Herbie Farnworth.
I wouldn't be surprised
Ryan
if
Sutton
the
got a
Rabbitohs
comp.
win it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rabbitohs win it. But I just think the Broncos...
Well, I'd be surprised if anybody except Penrith wins it ever again.
Interesting poll that went out the other day. I saw it on Twitter. They asked all the NRL club or like fans, can't vote for your own club.
Yeah.
Who would you want to win it? And an overwhelming majority all said the Warriors. If your team can't win it,
Up the wires. They're doing so well.
they're doing so well. Could they win it? Imagine if they get a home semi.
They could win it if they get a home semi.
It'd be with everything they did over COVID.
Oh yeah.
Their club
Oh, yeah.
deserves some,
Yeah.
recognition, and so I'm glad people are pointing and saying, if I couldn't do it, then I'd
But,
like the Warriors.
yeah.
After everything they've done, they deserve success.
I
So,
think there might even be a similar
fine.
feeling in the UK. Like if we can't win it, Catalan should.
yeah.
As that kind of outsider team that
But I think there's more to the expansion of the game there as well.
there's a second team in New Zealand on its way. If they go to 20 teams, which they seem to want to, there has to be another team in New Zealand.
Yeah. Right. Now we're actually going to take our break,
Okay.
and then we'll come back with some quick fire predictions. Thank you. Okay, quick fire predictions before we sign off and wait for the imminent news of Tyler Dupree being announced, seeing as he's just been spotted at the Robin Park Arena.
Speaking to Sean Wayne.
Yeah.
I want to be infected with Sean Wayne again, that's the podcast.
I bet he said the word tough.
Yeah. Be competitive, aggressive.
So,
Back your D.
he's far more elegant than that.
Yeah, okay.
So, first game on Thursday. I'm going to leave the Wigan game till the end, as we usually do.
Okay.
Huddersfield, Hull.
Me
Matty.
first, I've learned Lewis's lesson and I'll go back Huddersfield. I'm going to go Hull FC by less than 6.
Huddersfield.
He's not learned his lesson, folks.
I'm not, but Leicester have been on good form. They've won the last couple before this break from the Challenge Cup.
That's true.
They had some good results, so they need to keep it going.
Hull FC for me. Right. Hull KR versus Castleford Tigers.
I think Hull KR are going to win, but I don't think they're going to play particularly well off the back of such an emotional victory. I've got Hull KR very close. I just don't think Castleford are good enough to beat them away from home.
Do you think if it was any other team that Hull KR might have a slip up after
If
that?
it was in Cass, I probably would.
Mm.
But just because it's at
At
Craig
Hull
Park,
KR.
yeah.
I imagine that place is going to be bouncing
Yeah.
after a win.
Yeah, okay for me.
It's Hull KR gets all three. The big game of Friday, Saints versus Leeds. St Helens missing at least
Yeah.
Parsi, Walmsley, Matautia, LMS. He'll be out for 2 weeks.
And Knowles is it a miss?
Knowles could be in, and I've not seen the 21-man squad yet. I don't think it's out just yet.
I've only seen Leeds. I'm going to go with Leeds.
It's at St Helens.
Leeds were flying though. I'm going to go with Leeds because they were really impressive before the break.
Leeds, too many out for Saints.
I'm going to go Saints. I think they'll be firing.
This was the game that went to extra time, wasn't it? Well, these two teams have played each other before, and one of them was won by a drop goal.
Austin, it's a
They
drop
both
goal.
won by drop goals, weren't they?
That was
Yeah.
at Saints, wasn't
It
it?
was at Saints. We played Castleford that day, I think.
So when Austin won with the drop goal, that was at Saints.
That was at Saints, yeah.
And what about when they beat Leeds in extra time? When Dodd kicked it? That must have,
Yeah,
that
they
must
beat-
have been at Leeds, wasn't it?
That was at Leeds, yeah.
That must have been because this one's at St Helens.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So both of them have been won by a drop goal, one in extra time.
And one just at the end of normal time.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Saints. I just think they're going to be fired up.
They will be at all.
There's a little bit of feeling unjust. They'll bounce back, I think. Catalans versus Salford. Both these teams had 2 weeks off. That's it.
Catalans for me.
Catalan's too strong.
Yeah.
Catalans for me as well. Then we go on to Sunday. Wakefield versus Warrington. At Wakefield.
I'm going for Warrington.
Warrington, too strong for Wakey.
Should be, shouldn't they? Don't do it.
I really want to.
Oh, they've won the
'Cause
last two home games.
They've won the last 2 games at home. They lost to Huddersfield, and I said I thought it was a stretch too far, but I also said I think having 2 weeks off, a week to go and chillax and relax, and
You talk yourself in
I
to
can.
back in Wakefield.
I can't do it. I've got to go Warrington. Oh, yeah, I'm going Warrington. I'd be stupid not to. Oh, right,
You
okay.
go.
So we'll go back to Saturday. It's a Channel 4 game.
Yeah.
Actually means that we can't go and watch it because they moved it to the Saturday.
Unless it rains.
Unless it rains all day.
Oh, you beat cricket.
Yeah, we've got a big match. Wigan, Lee. Luckily it's on Channel 4, so I'll be able to record it and watch it later.
Yeah. Well, if you're asking me, I think it's win. I never back against Wigan, do I? None of us do.
No.
But I do think Lee will not have very much left in the tank.
I think they're going to be fatigued and tired.
Just because
And I think we have a
because
point to
they've
prove.
won as well, and I think we've got a point to prove, and they'll have one eye on the final. Yeah, I think we'll win this game. I hope I'm right.
I think we'll win this game.
Yeah, I think we'll want to right the wrong of.
Can you imagine what
Last
training's
week.
like this week?
Yeah.
We'll just have Tyler Dupree.
Yeah.
He's there.
I just mean in terms of you can tell all of them are going to be upset with
Yeah.
what happened, and I think Matty Peter will have them in terms of we can't let this define our season. We have to up everything. I really do.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Lee are going to be, like you said, emotionally drained. They put a lot into that game. They'll be buzzing. They'd have been celebrating. So then ask them then to come back and get up for a Battle of the Borough Wigan away game
Yeah.
after,
Don't get me wrong. I think they'll
7-day
bring a big
turnaround
crowd.
is going to be. Oh, they'll bring a big crowd.
And I
They'll be
don't-
happy, going into the finals. The crowd will be loud for them. But I think it's going to be a too much for them
So do I.
to come to us and turn us over.
Right. Anything else to say, lads?
No.
I think that wraps it up then, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're all good.
Been an enjoyable episode to
We'll
get.
see how long it is.
I know it's been a very long
It
episode.
does feel like it's been long, but you two went for about 2.5 hours last week. I wasn't here.
But we beat Warrington.
Yeah.
Of course we are.
But our third time, you're not getting bored of beating Warrington.
No. Never.
One thing I would
Ask
say
Kate
is,
Ellis.
one thing I would say to our listeners is obviously we've talked quite a bit here on like decisions and obviously like comments that's been made from
And that's not what we
Wellens
plan
and
to do
coaches
every
and
week.
whatever. No, obviously there's been quite a lot to talk about, but obviously like if you've got any opinions that you want to kind of point to discuss or you'd like to voice yours, then obviously reach out on the socials, tweet us and whatever. And again, it would be good to kind of maybe
Yeah, a bit of
review next
interaction.
week and have a bit of interaction and see what the fans said. If people agreed with us, disagreed with us, maybe changed our opinions a little bit based on what you've said. So yeah, anything like that, reach out and get your points across. And
Always welcome to tell us we're wrong. We're only 3 fans with an opinion.
I'll agree with us and say, what,
Yeah.
what you've said is correct. I completely agree, or I agree with this, but I would have said this or whatever. So yeah.
So
Always good.
that wraps it up. Thank you for listening. It's been another brilliant episode. Matty, Lewis, thank you for joining.
Always a pleasure, boys.
See you soon.
See you again.
care what you think, 'cause he's an